What's going on, everyone? This is going to be a pretty unique video for this channel, something you have never seen, not I've never seen actually, but very rarely see, which is a video about Siege. And I'll definitely confess that I'm not the biggest fan of Siege, but I have played recently enough Siege to have some influence and some say, some knowledge, I guess. Um, but this is going to be a very specific part of Siege, which is as close to land as you can get, and that's the art of the Sally, which has been an interesting topic in the Siege community um, for a while, but especially this most recent season of the TWL Siege, which is like the main tournament. I'm gonna make this intro pretty brief. I just want to quickly explain like my background in Siege, so you can maybe get an idea of how much experience I have, which is not a lot, to be fair. And also just like the context for the making of this video. So basically, me and Bobby, I don't know if you know Bobby, you probably know him. You can go check out his YouTube channel, which is pretty good. Although he doesn't post as much anymore, makes sense. But anyway, me and Bobby, two LAN players, we play in TWO LAN, we play in other tournaments. We decide pretty much like I think it's like a year ago at this point to play in TWL Siege, because I don't know if I have like 3 videos or 4 videos on my channel where me, Olda, and Bobby like sallied out in random Siege lobbies on Room 2 against like complete randoms and just like ran over them. So me and Bobby are like, yo, you know what? Like, what if we just join the TWL Siege and do the same thing against real players, and let's see how well we do, right? Let's just see how hard it is or how easy it is to do that. Um, so that was the plan. We joined 3 seasons ago. The first season, we did pretty well. Our sallies were pretty effective. Of course, we were bad at attacking, but we still won attacks against like worse players. Um, and we made it pretty far. Ended up losing to the winners. Okay, decent result in the playoffs. Decent result. In next season, we still played together, and we did kind of a little bit better. We made it like one round further, I guess. Again, ended up losing to the winners. We were winning every Sally. We didn't lose a single Sally, except for in the first season we lost in the playoffs, Sag. But yeah, Sallies were very effective. We were like, okay, this is cool. And the third season we didn't play on the same team. We played on 2 different teams. And Bobby's team won, although Bobby didn't play very much. But as we'll see later in the video, he played a very crucial role in the grand finals with an epic Sally. And my team was a guy called Illyria, who you probably don't know. He was very chill. Again, he has more experience in Siege, so he was able to help me learn more about the attacking and regular defense. But he's also a Sally player himself, so we were able to Sally a lot as well, and we got third. So within 3 seasons, you could say Sally players, whatever, Sally players, on teams with Siege players, so not like full Sally and not knowing anything about Siege, of course, we got first and third in the most recent season, with only playing Siege for 3 seasons. So you could say that Sally is definitely very effective, and as we'll see later, the grand finals and the third place game both had huge sallies that were like extremely effective. Let's just say effective. And this kind of sparked a really big debate where people are, how you counter Sally. And clearly the way that people have been dealing with Sally is not working, because me and Bobby and all these other people win Sallies like 100 times out of 100 and just dominate people and destroy them. And so I think after this grand finals, especially where the Sally was ridiculously effective, and you'll see it later, I wanted to make a video talking about how Sally works as a player who does it a lot, and also how it can be countered, and my theory about how you should be able to counter Sally. So that's basically the point of this video. I don't want to go too much more into Siege itself. I think that's something best left for another video. But yeah, so in this video we'll cover what is Sally, the old, like the classic way of dealing with Sally, and then how I propose people should deal with Sallies, because clearly I'll show the classic ways are failing pretty hard. So, yep, let's get right into the video, and hope you guys enjoy. We'll move into explaining Sally, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so let's start out on the most basic terms, and ask, what is Sally in Siege? This is, going to be very basic maybe to some of you, but yeah, let's start with that. And the idea of Sally is, instead of defending inside the walls, as you might normally do, we're going to bring shit outside the walls, and we're going to fight outside. Um, if units coming from both sides, we're going to fight out here, and we're not going to, we have some units inside, potentially. Obviously, the way Siege works is if they get to the victory point over here and just capture it, then we just lose. So we have to have something inside. But we're going to go outside, and we're going to fight at least partially from the outside. In general, a Sally will involve Cav, because Cav is mega useless inside, right? So attackers often won't have Cav, and if you have Cav on defense plus infantry, that combination is very strong. So generally, sallies include Cav. Doesn't necessarily do that though. Um, there's two different types of sallies. The first one is the partial sally, and in this case, you're gonna have, I would say, roughly half of your army or less outside. So it could be only a few units. Maybe you sally, like maybe sometimes you just sally this guy out the gates to annoy these people. That would be like, a gate sally or something. But in this case, you can see I'm playing Saba here, and I have most of my army, not all of my army. You see quite a few of my infantry are still inside, but I have a majority of my army outside. And Iceni here has most of his army inside. So that's a partial sally. Part of our army is outside, and part of our army is holding inside. So this is an example of partial sally. Um, in this sort of situation, right, you can see that the attackers are here. They have two armies. So the attacking, like the sally army, can never attack directly into this. They'll just lose. It's 2v1. Maybe we can help a little bit from inside, but realistically we have most of our army inside, so attacking from the outside into the attacking army is not going to work. So um, the sallying force is going to be a pest. Maybe they're going to try to skirmish, shoot down some of these missiles. They're going to hold some space, prevent the enemy from taking this area of the map, for example. And we're just going to be a pest. We're going to be annoying, threaten to attack things. If there are units that are isolated, then we can go kill them. But we're going to be a pest, and we're waiting for a time to attack when either they're not paying attention, or they have too few units and we have local superiority somewhere where we can just blitzkrieg attack, kill stuff, and retreat using our cav in infantry combo. So that's the partial sally side of things. So you can see in this case, right, we can't immediately attack, we're surrounding. My slingers here are going to start to shoot. Maybe we can try to shoot down some of these archers. Obviously the archers are very effective because they can shoot over the walls, right? So if we can trade my shitty slingers for their archers, then my guys inside are going to do better. So the partial sally is all about combining, units outside to threaten them to make sure my inside guys can do a little bit better than they otherwise would. Because otherwise, if they can get inside, and this is true for all sallies, if they can get inside, then they just put two hoplites right here in phalanx. Nothing is going to get through them. Cav obviously can't charge through a phalanx, and this game will be over. And this is true if you full sally, which is if you send everything outside, or if you just do a partial sally. You pretty much need to hold the walls. Even if we were holding back here, right? If we held our line here, they could get all their entire army inside, put two hoplites here, and now these units outside are completely useless, and they'd have to go all the way back around inside, and we'd be fighting inside. So one thing that you'll immediately notice about a sally is that you have to hold the walls to allow you to like play in tandem with the sallying player, the inside and the outside. So you can see here, my slingers are shooting, we're trying to get some shots on whatever, and we can come from both sides, we can surround. Again, this guy's surrounding as well, and we're gonna pressure from all sides, but again, we can't really attack. Everything is just being a pest, skirmishing, trying to shoot down what we can, trying to outposition them, maybe make them make a mistake, and take advantage of that in that situation. On the other hand, we have the full sally, and as it kind of you might expect from the name, this is when you're pretty much sallying everything outside. And I'd say anything is a full sally when your goal is to take a decisive fight outside. Because you can see in this battle, for example, this is 3v3, but still, we only have a few units inside, maybe 6 infantry, and they can also help by coming out this gate. Literally everything, 2 armies plus, half of Iceni. There's 2 chariots here, for Iceni and the general, so like a lot of their money is here. So in this case, right, our goal is not to, pest and be annoying. Our goal is literally to take a direct fight here and win outside. Because if we wait too long and our inside units die, now they're actually doing a good job right now, but if they die, they can just rush the victory point, it's game over, we lose. So we can't play too slow, we can't, wait around. If these guys are threatening to win, we have to take a fight outside. And so the goal here is basically saying we have an army that is purpose-built to sally, because we know we're going to sally. The enemy armies might not be so good against this. We're going to win directly by taking a fight outside. That's literally just it. And that contrasts to the partial sally, where the partial sally you can't really win outside. The full sally, you're saying we have enough units outside that we can take this direct fight and potentially just win it. And that's that's GG. So that's the difference between the two sallies. And immediately I've kind of brought up a couple of things of why Sally might be difficult to play against. For one, a lot of factions can bluff the Sally. What does that mean exactly? That means that, let's say, you are playing a faction that could sally out, but also could stay inside. So for example, Saba is a good example. Yes, they have the the camel cataphracts, very good sallying. But if the other team is like, oh my god, they're gonna bring all these camel cataphracts, we need to bring all this anti-sally stuff. We need to bring cav. We need to bring these thurio spears, like whatever we want to bring against Sally. Then if Saba all of a sudden doesn't bring like that many camels, they bring like, let's say 2 camels and they take an infantry spam and they hold inside. Well, now you have like 4 cav and these thurio spears and shit that's not going to be as useful inside. And now inside fight is going to be very easy because the enemy thought you were going to sally, but you didn't sally. They brought a bunch of units that are only useful if you do sally, and you didn't sally in the end, right? So that's the sally bluff. And we can look at that more precisely here. Leave this replay. So yeah, we can go into custom battle. Let's get the money right. We can go here. So let's say we're playing Saba, right? And on defense, right? Saba doesn't have, you don't have as much money on defense, right? So Saba could bring, the same army that you probably saw here, 4 camels, bring the horse archers, some slingers, some mascots, and our mascot. Okay, so we could bring this army. This is a Sally army, right? And, maybe your opponent's gonna think, okay, they're gonna definitely bring this because they're playing Saba. But at the same time, you could also go like, yeah, maybe you bring like a couple of Sally units, but you would just go heavy inside and you play, usually it's max 8, so we'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're gonna take a bunch of these Sapian swords. We're gonna take, a spam. Now, if the enemy, let's say, goes, I don't know, let's say they have Athens or something, right? And they bring like, oh, we gotta counter this cav, we gotta bring all these Thurio spears, we're gonna bring like a pikeman, we're gonna bring like some peltis, we're gonna bring like these Thurio spears, right? And maybe we still bring some swords. Something like this, right? Now all of a sudden, like, these 4 cav are useless. The pike is pretty useless. The Thurio spear is not gonna be that great. All of a sudden, this Saba comp is much better at holding inside than this Athens comp is pushing, right? So that's the bluff, right? We're gonna fake like we're gonna play Sally out, and we're actually gonna stay inside. And there's nothing you can do about this, right? Because the the Athens player must, this is the attacker, right? The attacker must respect the fact that you could Sally. If they don't bring a good army to defeat your Sally, if you do Sally, you're gonna have an easy time. You're gonna roll over them with the Sally. It's gonna be too strong. And so that's going to be super powerful. So what they have to do, and there's not only Saba can do this, like Macedon could do this, Pontus could do this, Parthia even could do this if they want to hold inside, all sorts of factions. Swaby could do this by faking the fast charge. Lots of factions can fake it. So if you have to worry about Sally and also maybe not, then you have to hedge your bets, right? You say, okay, we don't want to bring this because this is just too anti-Sally. Obviously, I don't even have any missiles or anything here, so maybe I bring like some archers or something. Something like this, right? Instead of bringing this, which maybe is like pretty good against Sally, or maybe you would even bring this. Like if you were worried about Sally, you'd bring something like this, and you'd bring 3 slingers or something, right? So maybe you would do this, but instead of doing this, this is like too much anti-Sally. If we have to fight inside, we're losing. Then they might say, okay, there could Sally, so let's bring something that's like can maybe deal with Sally, maybe like 2 cav or something. Let's get the the archers, which are better inside. Get the 8 thorax swords. Maybe we get a couple of these guys, whatever. I don't know, whatever, doesn't really matter. Now we have an army that's like okay at dealing with Sally, but if they do Sally, it's not really perfect for dealing with Sally. There's gonna be problems. But it's also not perfect for going inside. We wouldn't bring 2 Lancers if we were going to fight inside, right? So now the problem is your opponent has to hedge their bets, which means they have to pick some part of their army has to be ready to deal with Sally, and some part of their army has to be good enough to go inside. The problem is, you, as the defender, are choosing if you're going to Sally or not, right? So the enemy has an army that is neither ideal for dealing with Sally, nor is it ideal for fighting inside. Whereas your army will be ideal for going inside or outside, depending on which one you choose. So then the potential to bluff the Sally means that your army, if you Sally or stay inside, is going to be better suited for that choice than the attackers. So the defenders can force the issue. They can either go outside or inside. That's their choice completely. And the attackers have to guess which one they're going to do, or they have to like end up somewhere in the middle where they can maybe deal with both. But either way, you're going to have the advantage. And so that's a huge advantage, because the attackers are fighting with a suboptimal army, you're fighting with a perfect army, ideally, right? Like the best army you can conceive of for what you're going to choose. So the idea of the defenders get to choose this is very, very strong. The other thing that Sally immediately do, it's just like, it's abusing things that Siege players are bad at. And that's just because there hasn't been, at least before like Bobby and I were here, this level of Sally. Of course people sallied before us, I'm not saying we invented this or something, but our ability using skills that we use in land to turn sallies into something very strong just abuses skills that people don't kind of know, right? Um, and so that's kind of the purpose of this video, is to say, like, this is what we're doing with the Sally, and this is how you can counter it. This is like some ideas that the land players would use to counter a Sally by another land player, for example. Um, and so those are, we can, if you have some basic ideas, you have some examples, you can make a more informed decision about how you want to deal with it. And that's sort of your choice. But yeah, so that's sort of the initial problems that a Sally poses for an attacking team. And now we'll get into kind of how people have defended against it, how people maybe should defend against it, and all that. So, next thing I want to talk about is what are the goals of a Sally? Obviously, every game is going to be different, the goals might not be the same, but there are some general principles that always apply, right? And we can talk about those. The first goal is simple. It's to split the attacker's attention in two directions, right? The attackers have to worry about going inside, but they also have to worry about outside, right? So here, like, I have one player, like Tillis here, is playing inside, and I'm playing outside of this Tani, right? So I don't have to worry about two directions. I focus out here, Tillis focuses in here, whereas Rome and Boyai, the attacking team, they're split, right? Some of the Roman troops are here, and some of them are fighting inside. Some of the Boyai guys are here, some of their missiles are here, their cav is out here, right? So now they're split in two directions, and this is going to cause mistakes. For example, you can see Rome is probably focused on getting their troops inside right now, and right now, this archer is off of fire at will, and it's getting focused down by my Balearics. Okay, maybe it's not fire at will, but it's shooting an Iberian sword, and it's getting fired in the side by a Balearic, right? Which is going to start owning it and killing it for free. He's worrying about fighting inside here. He has to worry about, otherwise my, Tillis player here is going to own these Roman troops by just surrounding them. So you have to micro in here, which means you can't micro out here, which means you're going to make mistakes. Here, Boyai, maybe worrying about these guys, maybe worrying about my missiles, getting their cavalry killed. They already lost one cav, and now this cav is going to go down. Maybe get some kills on this jab cav, but again, not a good trade. See, this cav's down to 22. So, a very simple goal is just split their attention. Because things that they would like to do that are micro-intensive, like archer dodging, for example, repositioning their units, that means they have to, like, be focusing on one area. Archer dodging, you have to look at when the units are going to be firing. To position your units, you have to zoom in and get the right angles. But that means that you can't focus simply on both sides. Of course, it is possible to split the responsibilities on the attacking side. So, for example, one guy can be the anti-Sally player and one guy can be the inside guy. But that doesn't always work, it depends on your factions more. And that could be the same for the Sallying player too. Sometimes, like, I need to Sally part of my army, like maybe I'd Sally the cav and my other player would Sally their infantry because their infantry is better outside. But most of the time the Sally, if it's a partial Sally, can be split more evenly. Whereas the attackers, it depends on their factions, like what I said, but a lot of times they have to care about both. And you can see this is already causing problems where people will make mistakes. They're letting me take really good fights because I can focus exactly on what fights I want to take. They have to worry about two angles. At the same time that they're focusing here, these guys are getting shot by the towers, and these infantry inside are not doing so well because he's also have to worry about retreating over here and making sure his missiles don't die. Point being, you can split their attention very easily, and this is just hard. It doesn't matter who you are, it's hard to focus at two places and focus on two places at once. You're going to have a bad time every time. And so that's the first goal of the Sally: split their attention, make them not able to hard focus on one thing on either side, either against the Sally or inside the city, which means you're going to have two better fights. Outside is going to be easier than normal, and inside is going to be easier than normal because they can't focus on either. The second thing that a Sally wants to do is deny space to the attackers, and I think this is the most important one. Because when you're playing a siege battle normally and there's no Sally, you expect as the attackers to be able to move freely outside the map, outside the wall, sorry, and set up where you want. So, for example, on this map, a lot of times you're going to put a tower wall here, and you're going to destroy this tower, and you're going to have your archer shoot anything here, because you're going to get right side, sword side shots. But because my Sally is positioned here, and we have some infantry with some good cav that they don't really want to pressure, I mean, they're attacking them, but they can't really overtake this area. It would be very dangerous to get shot in the side, etc. We can bring more infantry over. And we have Cav. Because of that, they can't play here. And this is like all of a sudden very weird because you're used to just breaking these two, breaking through here. No one can play here because you'll just get sword-sided and you push this street. That's how you attack this area of the map. All of a sudden, it's not the same because now my archers are positioned here. If you attack down this street, you're gonna get shot in the back. And you can't attack down this street because you can, but it's not like you can push us off easily. We can hold here because we're not getting sword-sided. We have a tower still, right? So this fight's actually good for us. Now we're fighting in a breach, where we also get sword-side / rear shots here, if units are retreating. And so all of a sudden the entire game has changed, right? Because we're not playing the same game. Like this map is not the same as normal because we have this sally going on. The sally is denying them the ability to take the space. And they can't really like overwhelm us here because then they get attacked on the other side, right? And we'll kill the units that are here. So the Sally is denying them space. It forces them to box up, and this means that all of a sudden we can play positions that are usually like banned from playing. Well, not literally banned, but they're so bad that you would never do it. In this case, though, the Sally gives us the positioning to be able to play spots that are better to hold the breach. And again, we already talked about how important it is for the sallying team to be able to hold the breach. They get inside, it's over. So we have to hold close here, which means that we need to be able to play close to the wall, which means we need to be able to hold in this area. In this area here with our sally to block them from pushing us out of this. Because then they would just walk up here, hold this, and they get inside and it would be bad. So that's an absolutely um, key thing, right? So that's an advantage that Sally gives us, right? To position our inside units in more favorable position. And this is maybe what people don't realize. A lot of times people say, oh yeah, against the Sally, just like rush inside and kill the inside units. That's like, sure, like somewhat true, but it's not easy to do that because we're holding such favorable angles and you're holding the worst possible angles, right? Box up near the breach. You have no archer angles, you're shooting frontally everything. Well, we're shooting from 3 sides, maybe 4 sides, right? So all of a sudden you're in a bad spot, we're in a good spot, and we can hold this wall very effectively, and that will help us a lot. And we can give another example here in a second. So here, the other problem with the box is basically when you're boxing up like this and we're denying you all this space, our missiles are going to get really good angles. The box, again, they're forfeiting any chance of getting good archer angles. They can't push a tower wall down here and shoot us in the back. They can't push tower wall this way and shoot us here, which is where they might want to do that, because we have all this space. So they're forfeiting the ability to get any good shots, plus the missiles outside can perform really well, because they're so, tightly boxed here, that these units are in pretty long lines. Or, sorry, in small like square formations or against units in really long lines. And so this means that our slingers, even though the regular shitty slingers for Saba have only 15 armor, 45 health, 20 damage, these guys have 50 health, 25 armor, and 23 damage with better AP, so these guys are a lot better slingers. We're actually going to be able to win / draw the slinger war here because they're in shitty formations, we're in long lines, and we're surrounding, getting shots from all sides. So this is another thing that if you deny them space, not only are they not going to be able to shoot anything inside effectively, they're also going to lose, trade poorly outside as well, giving the outside player even more ability to just force them inside, force them into a bad position, and make the inside player's life really, really easy because they can't support their units inside very effectively. Um, that's the second thing about sallying out, denying them space, and giving yourself a even better fight everywhere else to continue to perform well. The next thing that the Sally can really achieve is eventually there's going to be a time in the battle where we can attack the outside units. This is especially true for a partial Sally. Obviously, if this is a full Sally, your kind of goal is to more immediately attack. However, in a partial Sally, for example in this game, we don't really have the means to initially attack a box, right? Like, I mean, although we have good cav forces and we have some infantry, they simply have too many numbers out here, and if we attack fully, we're just going to lose, right? But at a certain point, they have to go inside, right? And our fight inside is going to be favorable. Realistically speaking, they probably need more than one army to kill one army inside because of how good our positioning is going to be, how much space has been denied. We get all these good angles, our archers are inside, we can pour fire in from multiple directions, they're coming through a small breach, etc., etc., it's going to be a good fight for us. So the Sally can essentially wait until a critical moment where they can attack the outside units and just kill them for free, because there's not enough, the power of the sallying force is stronger than the outside force. And at that point, if the inside force is still holding at the walls, then when these guys die outside, right, it's just over, right? Because now you can get surrounded, you're losing. This fight will be outside, eventually very decisive. Of course, the timing is the critical point here. When do you make this attack? If you wait too long, then you lose inside, or maybe the entire enemy army can just get inside and hold the breach. If you go too soon, your army outside just dies and doesn't get enough value. So you want to pick the right moment where you can win decisively enough, so that you keep enough troops alive from the outside, but before your inside fight is too lost. Because if, for example, if we win this fight outside, but we lose inside, it's bad for us, right? The gates are very far away. I guess there's escape, but it could be neutralized. Um, and then it's just GG because they go inside, they go for the VP. Our Sally units have to go all the way back around. Inside, they're going to be tired and they're going to lose. So you have to pick the right time to attack. And we can see, there's good ways to see when that is. For example, you can pressure all the time, and this is what a Sally does good, right? So here, we're like, these are only throw spears, there's one sword follower here, but we have good angles to shoot them sword side. So we can attack these units, because look, there's no reserves. Here, we're just pressuring. We have Cav in all positions. They have to respect this Cav. And so we can pressure the box. And we're not at a critical point yet, but we are at a good point. If we can break through these units pretty quickly, then all of a sudden we might actually be able to break this box. And yes, they have enough units, but we have a lot of Cav here. And the Cav can do so much work against the enemy infantry here, because they have no Cav of their own. So potentially we can just break through here. So yeah, it's all about pushing the timing. So here we go for some aggression to break through this side, and that's going to force their reserves to move over here, and then we can attack the center as well. Here, just again pressuring. If we skip forward a little bit, again, these fights are massively favorable for us. I mean, these throw spears will hold, but they're just going to get no kills. You can see that here come the sword side shots on this sword follower. Actually, they're shield side because he's facing backwards, but like, that's not good long term. And now you can see we can start to, well, I try at least to affect the battle inside here as well, because they gave us the breach. So now, things are just falling apart. Here we begin our attack, and again, it may look like in this situation we're going too early, and maybe we are slightly going too early, but the fight inside is actually pretty favorable for us, so we can actually, support through the breach soon once these guys die. But also, it's a box, right? And a box has a critical flaw, and we'll talk about this more later, that even if I attack in only 2 places, they can't send all these units to over here, because then this unit and my cav will just bust through the box and kill everything. So even though they have more numbers, they can't utilize their numbers very effectively. So we're actually going to get really good fights. We're going to get into the general, into this one thorax sword. We can, we can always pressure these guys with cav and stuff. And let alone the fact that we're going to win outside here. And again, because we've denied them any space, the fights are just terrible for them. Any fight they take here, they're getting sword-sided by our guys inside. And again, this comes also from the fact that we're playing in a place where our outside units and our inside units, right, start with them backwards, outside, inside units are working together to support each other. And now you can see, here we go for an attack because they're almost out of units. They sent this Oathsworn inside. They're sending these guys inside. We are slightly losing maybe over here, but it's not really bad. And we're winning over here, it looks like. And now they're pretty much out of units. Like, yes, they can block my initial cavalry attack, but they can't block subsequent attacks. Now this sword band is going to get in here and just kill these thorax swords. The Oathsworn supports, then there's going to be gaps in here to exploit, gaps over here to exploit as well. Because again, they have no reserves. They pretty much have no reserves at this point. So we tied out almost all their units, and they probably could have done a better job. But again, at the same time, they're going to decisively lose inside now because all their attention is divided. It is put towards outside now. All they have inside is this throw spear and one thorax sword and maybe one O sword. But again, with all our missiles here and infantry inside, we're just going to demolish this. Now again, we can exploit the fact that they don't have enough reserves. And again, with the fact that cavalry require the attacking force, like the boxing player, to have more reserves than you anticipate, because the cav gets inside at all, it's just over. And so you need to be able to both fight the enemy units and hold units in reserve to block cav attacks. And they're not able to do this, they don't have enough numbers. So here, even though we were a little bit outnumbered, we'd still choose a good time to attack because we can get inside the box, we can just kill this stiff, and then we'll come over here and recharge them, and it'll pretty much be GG. So knowing when you can make this attack happen is obviously the critical skill for a sallying player. And there's a couple of schools of thought. One school of thought is you wait until you know you can get a decisive victory, But there's also the idea that you just go for a very damaging blow. If they get stuff inside, right, those are units that can't be killed. So yes, you could get a decisive victory on outside units, but if enough shit gets inside anyway, then it's like not really that good. So you could go for a fight that you might lose long term, but you're gonna do so much damage that the inside fight's gonna be good, and that's kind of what we're doing here, right? Like if if nothing else inside the walls matters, we're gonna lose this fight long term. They have Oathsworn, they have more units, but they don't have enough units to stop catastrophic damage to their units, and the stuff that wins this fight for the attackers is going to be very, very low, if they win at all. And now all their archers are going to be dead, so even if we lose out here, but it's a Pyrrhic victory for them, they're not going to have enough to then get inside afterwards as well. So in that way, we can time this attack from the Sally to do enough damage to just win the game. Or you could wait a little bit, wait for a few more units to go inside, and then just attack and win out here. Ultimately, it's not going to be necessary because the fight was going so well inside anyway that we managed to just clean everything up. But that's the third thing, is when to attack outside and to make a critical, death blow on the boxing, or the units that are outside of the walls, the units that haven't gone inside yet, before it's too late. So that's the other thing the Sally can achieve. Alright, and as another example, so in the last game we attacked kind of early, but in this game we'll see kind of the benefits of attacking later. So in this game, there's a lot of stuff outside. I only have a few units. It's quite a small partial cell, you could say. It's a lot of cav, but it's only a few really melee units. So there's no point in trying to attack this because I don't have enough infantry to really support that kind of attack. But at the same time, we can still skirmish here, obviously, we can pepper, and inside, since, it's only quite a small partial sally, we're still fine inside here, and we're forcing a lot of units to turn and look at us here. And we'll talk more about how necessary this really is from the defending, or the attacking point of view. But the reality is that right now, more of their funds are invested outside than ours, right? Like, they have a lot of elite missiles. Like, literally all 4 Athenian elite missiles are looking at 4 shit slingers, which is a very good trade for us, because again, they cost much more. A lot more infantry. They have even 3 cav here. So 3 cav, maybe we have, 4. So again, much more of their funds outside. So there's no point in attacking. We have to trust that we can win this inside hold. And if we can't, then it's like, I don't know, we've done a bad job, right? And if we try to attack right now outside, we're just going to lose, and we're probably not going to be able to get enough value, especially because they have cav here. We're not going to be able to, like, bust through and kill their archers. Their cav are just going to countercharge us. So we have to wait and, keep them frozen in place as they are now. And then once the ability comes to attack outside, we can make that happen with our cav superiority. But until a few more units are forced inside, it's not really going to be worth it, so we just wait. So I think now that we've seen kind of the goals of what the Sally can do and kind of how it works in general, we can talk about how people would decide to defend against Sallies. And this was, for the most part, pretty straightforward. Basically, people will say this, like, you box up around the breach and you run inside and you kill the guys inside because you have more units inside. Or, you can put more units inside because all your guys are right there near the breach, and the Sally units are outside, and they're made kind of useless by the fact that the box is preventing any sort of attack. Basically, your idea is you have 2 armies versus 1 outside, and 2 armies versus 1 inside, in the fact that the Sally army can't support directly the inside army can't directly support the outside army, so wherever you fight, it's going to be 2v1, essentially. That's sort of the classic idea. Once you win inside, essentially, then you just block the breach, you go inside, you go for the victory point, and you pretty much win, and the Sally didn't do anything the whole time, besides maybe skirmish. So that's that's the classic idea, and there's some logic to it, right? Like, attacking a box as the Sally player is pretty much suicide most of the time, right? We've seen even already in previous examples where I said, look, we can't really directly attack this, so we just skirmish, blah blah blah. Especially if there's cavalry support, it becomes very difficult to attack a box, shield wall, etc., phalanx, whatever. A lot of missile support. So yes, attacking the box directly is stupid, and it doesn't work. So in that sense, the box can hold the line. The other thing is that inside, right, if you're essentially playing only against one army holding inside, it is possible to overwhelm them. It won't be quick, but again, you don't have to be quick. If the Sally army is still rendered useless, and you can grind your way inside, and then you can bring the rest of your army inside once the defenders give up enough space, and then you lock the breach behind you. So again, there's some logic to that, and it certainly can work. The other thing is like Cav to counter Sally is used as well. People will bring like Capace Lancers, Capitation, stuff like that. Um, but these units I feel like were used pretty defensively, right? Their goal was to stop enemy Cav from getting beyond the confines of the box, getting into the missiles, etc. They're just gonna play defensively, they're gonna counter charge, things like that. And again, that makes total sense. If you have Cav, it is a lot harder to break through a box. You know, it's more forgiving of mistakes. If there's like a hole in your line, the Cav can plug that line. The enemy Cav for the Sally player can't Sally, or sorry, can't pull through enemy Cav obviously, so there's no threat to getting to the missiles. The Cav are a great stopgap. Um, so there's a lot of logic to the way people were trying to do it in a sense, but I think the problem was that these boxes are very consistent, like they look the same all the time, and they're very exploitable. And we've already shown a few ways where that's true. For example, we saw how the missile units can get a big advantage by shooting from all sides. Um, and there's more to that though. I think the main thing is that as we've already talked about this too, but the main thing is the inside fight is not as favorable as you'd think, even though it's like technically 2v1 for the reasons we've already explained. First of all, um, the attacking army is funneled into a single choke point where they don't have good angles to help shoot, whereas the defenders inside are going to get archer angles from all sides and be able to get really, really good engagements. So it's going to, like I kind of already said, it's going to take more than one army to break into one army fully inside, given the angles they have. And that's why every time you play a siege with no Sally, you don't just like funnel your units through a choke point and engage. You're always going to lose like that. You want to bring your archers to the side, you want to get angles, shoot, etc. And thus it's very, very difficult to actually win the fight inside. Much harder than people I think expected, because the Sally is denying so much space. The second thing is, of course, once you're forced to funnel more and more units inside, then the Sally can actually win the outside fight, and no longer is the box impenetrable. At a certain point, it's actually just weaker than the Sallying force. The Cav is useful, yes, but it just becomes overwhelmed by superior, numbers and inequality at a certain point. And especially because if you're boxing up, you're gonna get surrounded. The angles are terrible, and that becomes very useful for the Sally player to abuse. And we've also seen how the Sally player can attack just one side of the box, uh, force units to rotate to that side, but they can't leave anywhere open, otherwise the Cav will just come inside the box and destroy everything. So that makes the box very immobile. It makes it very weak to, attacks on only certain sides. It's very weak because it's surrounded. It also means that archer fights, we also saw, are very bad because you're boxed up, so your missiles are in crappy formations, which means that the outside units are shooting both from better angles and in better formations, by which I mean longer lines, of course. And so that's just going to result in neither side being neither phase of the box being very good. Neither good for going inside, because you're giving up so much space and you're only attacking from the choke point, and it's also bad at holding outside. And yes, it's resistant to a direct attack at the very start of the game, but no sane player will just attack directly into a box. They'll just wait, and until their forces are diminished, wait until they can skirmish effectively. And you can really skirmish down the entire enemy missile force outside with just like 4 or 5 slingers or whatever, maybe a couple archers. Especially if the archers from inside can support the missile fight, which often they can. And so then you're just going to be losing. You have no advantages really whatsoever to speak of. So that's a big problem. And once the box becomes weak to missile fire, you start losing, more units have to go inside. Then the box is also very weak to attacks itself, like assaults on the box, because it doesn't allow reinforcements to be used effectively. You don't have space to position units, so you're essentially going to get fought on the front line. You're going to be charged by Cav on all sides, and if anything breaks through the box, it's just over, because now you're getting rear charges for days, and the box collapses, etc. And again, to break through a box, you only have to get through one place, right? You don't have to break through everywhere, you just need to break through one place, and then you funnel units in behind, and the box is broken, and it's just GG. So a box is actually pretty weak to attacks. Obviously if you have vastly superior strength in the box, sure, it's fine. But over time, the box is going to be weakened, and you're not going to have that strength advantage. And then because you're forced to defend every angle, the box is actually quite weak because the Saladin player only has to attack one side of the box basically, and then wait for units to move away from the other side, and then they just attack from the other side later with a smaller force. So I think the next thing is to talk about what um, what land players are bringing to the Sally. I think obviously we already talked about how we're surrounding, we have lots of cav, and our micro is good. So okay, that is certainly one thing. But at the same time, I think we bring a few other things as well, which are like the land tactics that I think people definitely need to be more aware of how they work. Even like I'm talking mechanically. So we'll go into that next. So the first tactic, and kind of the most important one to discuss here, is the frontal cavalry YOLO charge. This is like the bread and butter land strategy that like everyone uses, and it certainly is not like you know, OP in any way. It's just like it's strong. It's a good tactic. It has its weaknesses, but basically the idea is that a cavalry charge into a unit and then followed up by an infantry charge is absurdly powerful because the cavalry charge does a lot of impact damage, especially if it's heavy cav. This isn't going to work with really light cav against heavy infantry or something, but we're talking about heavy cav, shock cav, units that should charge into enemy infantry. When they charge in, they're going to hit the enemy unit, and they're going to apply a lot of impact damage. Impact damage depends on the velocity and mass of the incoming cav unit, as well as the bracing and mass of the defensive unit, the infantry unit. So the cav is going to apply a lot of impact damage here, but what it's also going to do is going to knock over the models, right? The units that get hit are going to fall into the ground, and then the infantry unit is going to charge. So now this unit didn't get a charge bonus because it got hit by the cav. Even if it was charging the cav, they would get knocked down, right? And their charge would be ineffective. And this unit is going to get a full charge bonus, so it's going to get very buffed stats on the charge. But also, a lot of these guys are going to be on the floor. And units are on the floor for 8 seconds if they get knocked over. Not units, but like individual men are not on the floor for 8 seconds. And so when this unit charges in, they're going to basically be able to kill whatever is standing up. And again, they're going to be very effective at killing them because especially units that have a high charge, but even units that don't have a great charge, but ideally this is units with good charge. They're going to come in and they're going to be facing very HP depleted men, right? Which means that with the high attack and damage from a charge, they're going to be able to like almost one-shot most dudes that are still standing. And so the great number of models means that you're going to get in, you're going to kill everyone who's standing up, and then as units slowly get up, or as models, sorry, like men get up from the ground, again they're not going to have a charge. You're still going to have a high attack. You're going to kill them. Of course, this works best with a high charge and a good cav unit, but it's very effective even without that. And you can test this for yourself. If you take like let's say like for our Verni, like a heavy horse and a chosen sword, and you face up against another chosen sword from the enemy, and you just charge them and follow up, you will win decisively, like very very decisively, because they just never have a chance to recover from that initial HP damage that they took, as well as not getting a charge. So this is a very strong strategy, and you can see we'll see it here. And yes, it's, maybe an ideal case with ODK and Saba, but as I said before, this really does apply to anything really. And so this strategy makes infantry fights extremely favorable. And here you can see people trying to go into shield wall. This kind of works, but not really that great. And so here we go. Unit gets knocked over, loses good amount of men on the charge. Yeah, I got some kills on the cav because of the Pila. But now look at the Thracian warriors. They're going to instantly get a ton of kills. Of course, they're Thracian warriors. They're supposed to get a lot of kills on the charge. But because of that HP damage, look, the Camel Cataphract got only 30 kills. But now this Thracian warrior is instantly getting 15 more. And this unit is now down to 110, 109, and still like, quickly dropping. And before, this Thracian warrior even loses 10 men. And these are Thracian warriors with terrible defense, and they die very quickly. But because of that charge, and the men only getting up about now, you can see they're mostly getting up now, the Thracian warrior now has 150 men against 98 on the Parthian sword. And the camel only lost 7 men, so this fight is going to be decisively winning for even a shitty Thracian warrior, because all it took was 7 losses for your camel cataphract, to just charge in there and do the damage. And now, yeah, Parthian Sword gets 30 kills. A couple of them are on the Cav, most of them on these shitty creation warriors. Doesn't matter, this unit's dead. And, you know, you can continue the case here. Have a Gaudy cohort getting charged. Of course, the follow-up is not so good here. You want to ideally be charging it right after the charge of the Cav. But anyway, it's irrelevant. You can continue to do this over and over again, basically. And quickly, units are going to just die and really get almost no value. So this is the most effective land strategy, and it must be dealt with properly by the defensive team. And we'll talk more about how to do that, but I think this is something that me and Bobby abused a lot, was we can just bring out cataphracts, we can YOLO charge infantry, and we can bring up our infantry from outside, the sallying units, and just charge in, and they're going to have a ridiculously winning fight. And so all of a sudden, because we have a few cav, especially if the enemy doesn't have cav to counter you, your few cav can cycle, get a bunch of different charges on different units. You don't have to engage everywhere at once. We could like YOLO charge here, follow up, and then move our cav over here. YOLO charge here, follow up with another infantry unit. Bring the cav over here. YOLO charge here. And if you have like 3 cav, all of a sudden you can get YOLO charges on most of the enemy line, and all of a sudden all your units are just going to be winning, even if they have more units there. Because of how decisively winning these initial fights are, they're going to be forced to send in their reserves, and then your cav can get around the flank and recharge and stuff like that. So this is classic land strategies, and it was very effective against players who would leave their units vulnerable to such an attack. And so that was one thing that we very effectively took advantage of, I think. The other thing, and we kind of already talked about this, but I think it's worth reiterating, that we had an advantage of us as land Sally players, whatever, is that we were able to just take advantage of large-scale mistakes a lot more easily. And you'll see in this battle, like for example, again, partially because they have to focus on 2 angles, but it really allows you to take really good fights outside. And you'll see the Balearics, like I have only 4 Balearics here against, 2 Celtic Slingers, 2 Syrians, enemy Balearic, eventually this other Syrian as well. So pretty much every missile unit except for like 2 Celtic Bowmen against 4 Balearics, and we're going to be able to take advantage of this and get a really good fight. Because a lot of time, look, like for example, these guys are not really firing, and we're getting shots on them from the side here, right? And again, if they were fully focused, I mean, these guys say they're firing, but they're not firing also. If they were fully focused, they would be able to, be microing this and whatever, and they get good shots. But because they're not, and again, I think we have me and Bo, we had a micro advantage in terms of looking at this like large scale stuff pretty much all the time. We're going to be able to maximize how much damage we're going to be able to do out here. And again, it does partially come down to the fact that they have to micro in 2 places, inside and outside, but just means again that inside is going to be bad as well, and people are often really, really scared of this outside stuff, and then, and as they should be. But in the end, what that results in is the outside units, sure, they're putting a lot of attention out here, but them paying attention to outside so much only is going to favor us. Like, this is a land battle, and this is where we're going to be best, and this is the siege part of things, and now they're not paying attention almost at all to this because they're so worried about this outside stuff. And out here, we're just getting really good fights, partially because it's more of a thing that we understand better as land players, if that makes sense. Like, these fights are stuff that we know how to maximize our efficiency in, whereas the stuff that, for example, I would not be good at doing in here, they're no longer paying so much attention, nor are they giving it much thought in terms of unit power. Like, they have 5-6 units in here max, like, bugging the rest of their army, and look, there's no support coming. And look, now Tillis is going to be able to overwhelm these Roman troops. Like, literally, there's only a few units that are close by, and they're pressured by my units from the front here. At the same time, our missiles are getting really good engagements on these slingers. Again, like, no land player would ever be putting their slingers in formations like this. It just doesn't make sense. Look, I mean, you can see my guys are maximally in line. Even here, he gets like a cav charge. We don't actually have any melee cav. But he gets a charge, but because my guy's in a long line, it only kills like the guys that get charged, so only a few guys die. And so even if like a small thing like that happens, 89 men, this cav only got like what, 20 kills on the slingers, so it wasn't that bad. But again, look how much, like, look how much they're spending looking at my one army, and B, look how hard these, I'm still able to, like, how well I'm still able to perform despite how much is looking at me. We've already killed 2 of their cav, only the general cav unit is left, so like that's super good for us. And now these missile units are just going to actually lose the missile war long term if we skip through this. We've already killed the 2 Celtic Slingers, so now all 4, or I guess 3 Roman units are looking at us. This one Syrian is just facing backwards doing nothing. But again, because of these angles, decisively winning these fights. Balearics are dying, Syrians are going to go down, even getting shots into like the Celtic warriors and stuff because they're just like in the line of the Syrians. And again, all this time, all these units spent outside, and the inside fight is just drastically in the defensive favor. And so again, I think we're able to just capitalize on mistakes in the land portion more easily than they're able to capitalize on mistakes in the siege portion, because they're focusing so hard outside because they're so worried about this. And at the same time, they're not focusing on inside. And so inside becomes very favorable, and anytime there's a mistake, we're more likely to take advantage of it as like the land players playing a land battle than they are as siege players taking a land battle. And here you can see exactly this, where these units are exposed. Look, we routed all the missile units, and obviously veteran shield warriors are weak to missiles, so now that these guys are gone, yes, they bring up a new Syrian, but pretty much everything is dead. You can take a mini fight outside. We go inside through the breach. Again, the mistake that they made giving up this space. Here we get veteran shield warriors into sword followers and Avocati. A pretty good fight for us. I mean, pretty much the best possible fight we're going to be able to get, where we get these charges, we get these cycle charges. Lusitani Noble going to get in pretty cleanly. And again, they can't really do too much. Now look how much they're sending over to help this, and now we're going to get rear shots on these archers. They have to reposition. Sword followers going to get shot in the back as well. And we get inside here and crush the inside. So again, every mistake that they make, because it's a situation that we're more comfortable in, we're more likely to take advantage of the mistake. Which isn't to say that we won't make any mistakes, or that they won't take advantage of our mistakes. But just when we're fighting something that's more comfortable for us, where we're the surrounding player in a land battle against siege players, defending like this position, while also having to worry about inside, right? It's just like it's a situation that just heavily favors the land battle players playing outside. And so more often than not, we're going to be the ones taking advantage of the mistakes of the enemy and capitalizing and getting high value out of our units, whereas the other team playing in an uncomfortable situation is not going to get as much value. And so that's, I think, just like a general thing. And it kind of comes back to points we've already talked about. Basically, the land player, if you're forcing players into an uncomfortable situation, those players aren't going to do as well, which is just, makes sense, right? And so yeah, I think this was another example of how we could utilize the pressure of the Sally, force the siege player into an uncomfortable situation, and take advantage of that with the skills that we already have from so much experience playing land battles. So the game we just showed was the third place game, where we had lost our attack and then we sallied out and we won on this side of the map with Lusitani, and that was good. That showed Sally being effective, and again, like third place game, pretty good players all around. But this is even worse, and I think this was the final nail in the coffin for people dealing with Sally. And here it's the grand finals. They had lost their, this is Bobby playing as, I guess this is ODK, and they had lost their attack. So this is their defense. They need to win this game to win grand finals, and of course they go for a full Sally. And we're just going to go through this whole replay, I think, because it's worth showing a lot of the mistakes made and why, and kind of the point, like it proves all the points, basically, that I was saying earlier about why boxes are bad, why the classic anti-Sally is bad, and like pretty much every possible result from why boxes are bad comes up in this game, and it shows its head here. So let's skip forward a little bit here, but we can quickly look at the army. So because these guys won their attack, they could bring any faction on defense. They picked Rome first, and then they go for Parthia, in theory, to help counter the Sally. You can see they have a few cataphracts, good missile units, generals, and HA. And Rome obviously bringing a lot of infantry, good archers, whatever. Saba has a good amount of cataphracts, I think three cataphracts and two horse archers, no, 4 cataphracts. Yeah, 3 cataphracts, 2 real camel archers. And then ODK has a spam of like 4 slingers, I think, or something. 3 slingers maybe. And then a couple of nobles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nobles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 warriors, something like that. Anyway, and a spear. Saba's staying mostly inside with their mascots and the cataphract. They also have a few slingers as well, but they're mainly outside here with the cav, and then ODK is not at all inside pretty much, and they're going to come out here and attack. So let's immediately look at why this box is bad. First, they're immediately being surrounded, but sort of inevitable because they come out of 2 gates. So they have to accept that there's going to be a fight up both sides, which is fine. But you can immediately see, like, these missiles, like, everything is already blobbed up in here. And you can already see they're getting good shots, but okay, they're reforming, so let's see, how do they defend? Look, these guys are in long lines. They're getting missile units on all sides. The archers can come over here. But look at the response from the boxing players. They're in these tiny lines, they're not going to get good shots. Um, archers here, bad shots. Okay, they're getting some good shots on the cav, but they just back up. And once they get out to the side here, and these guys come around, the box is just so dense. The density of units is ridiculously high, and you can see every time the units have to back up, they're getting shot from all sides, which is not good. So okay, they lose a lot of Balearics early, probably more on bad play from the attackers here than anything else though. But you can already see if an attack comes into these units, they're going to be very stressed on their micro, because a cap charge into one of these units would hit so many other units, and it would get a lot of extra kills, which is obviously not good. And they're going to be assailed from all sides, essentially. These guys are just resting, I think. That's why they're usually, yeah, they're winded, so they're just waiting. And again, there's no rush. Like, the inside hold is pretty strong. 6 mass cats and a cataphract, so they're not in super rush. And they're already getting some decent shots. I mean, these are frontal shots, so they're not going to be great, but whatever, the slingers might as well shoot. And the archers aren't returning fire, because every time they try to come up here and shoot, they just get ran at by a cav and get shot in the back, so they don't really want to engage at the moment. Now the other forces are coming to help surround. I guess these guys are on the wall. And I guess we keep waiting. But anyway, the other thing is that these guys need to be ready to deal with the frontal charge, and we kind of already saw that when I was explaining how the frontal charge works, but they're not in a good position to do this, because one charge, again, is going to hit multiple units, and then the Thracian nobles will come in and engage those units, and just absolutely demolish them. So that's going to be really hard to deal with. And here, now you can see rear shots and right side shots are starting to be exposed a little bit more, as the surround comes in. Right, once you start surrounding, there's a box, you get better angles to shoot. So that's sort of happening. Getting rear shots on these armored legionnaires. Of course, they're armored legionnaires, they're not really going to die all that quickly. But they're dying. And now they go inside, and of course, it is pretty much, well, it's a partial sally, but it's a pretty, more or less full sally, right? They have vast majority of their money is outside. Only the 6 mascot, which yes are important, but they're just holding inside, and now they have to attack, right? Because now, 7 or 8 are these units are going to be dealing with this inside attack, so now the outside attack is much stronger. And their missiles, okay, their missiles have, managed to survive the initial slinging war by just hiding, but the next problem is when the attack actually comes in from the cav, these missiles aren't going to be able to freely shoot, because the box is so small. If there's any break in the line, the missiles are pretty much all dead, because they're all boxed up inside here. And we're going to see that quickly becomes a very big problem as the charge comes in, because ideally, like, you're facing ODK, right? Like, missiles are extremely effective against this faction. Like, any sort of archer fire into nobles or Thracian warriors especially are just going to obliterate them. And camels don't have the greatest health either, at only 100 health, so compared to Eastern Cataphracts, 115 health. So your missiles are a huge part of this fight, because your missiles are going to be the thing that you have a huge advantage. You have Parthian foot archers and Syrians and Balearics against just regular shitty slingers, right? So you have a huge advantage here, and the missiles are going to be what's helped you dominate the infantry fight against those Thracian units. So the missiles are going to have a tough time. And the other thing is that the cav aren't doing a good job of countercharging here. Like, both cav are far back. They're only looking at this one cataphract. Maybe they can deny a charge on this side. But over here, there's no cav. Like, there should at least be a cav to countercharge, because again, Eastern Cataphracts are actually going to demolish Sabaean Cataphracts on the charge. And yeah, they don't want to stay in combat very long, because the Thracian units are anti-cav, but they should at least deny them from charging the infantry, because that will block the YOLO charge power. And then it'll be a much more fair fight for the infantry, and Thracian warriors, for example, won't get almost any kills. So here we go, here's this initial charge. We know this is going to end up badly. But here, for example, okay, they use they had shield wall and stuff, so this doesn't really do all that much. Not some good kills, but now the Thracian nobles are going to come in, and again, they're going to get a very good engagement here, because there's so much blobbing going on. And here's the key point. When units are blobbed up, you don't get to use your reserves. So in this fight, there's a Thracian noble. In this fight, there's a Thracian noble. In these fights, there's Thracian nobles. Everywhere that ODK is going to fight, there's going to be a Thracian Noble. And the Thracian Nobles are the only units in this fight that can actually do any damage. I mean, the Cataphracts obviously can, but infantry-wise, right? Thracian Warrior is not going to do all that much, except if you get a YOLO charge and, you know, or against depleted units or against Hillmen, right? But the Thracian nobles are required to win these fights. But because there's so much blobbing, the Thracian nobles can fight this unit and this unit and this unit and this unit all at once instead of getting surrounded, right? Because there's more numbers for Roman Parthia, but when you're boxed like this, you can't use your numbers because they're all stuck in this middle area. Whereas Thracian noble, Thracian noble, Thracian noble, Thracian noble, every engagement is going to have the best units for ODK fighting in it. Right, Thracian noble also coming from the back, and also the Cataphracts can get the YOLO charge in every fight pretty much. Because you're so boxed, you're allowing ODK to maximize the efficiency of their engagements by getting their best units involved. If, and we'll talk about this more obviously next, if the Thracian warriors are forced to fight alone, they're just gonna lose because they suck. Like, they literally just suck. But when Thracian nobles are involved, of course, the fight's gonna be very good. Here, okay, they did a better job. They get the Cav charge to block the nobles, but again, now there's another Cav, and again, everywhere they fight, it's Noble and Cataphract. So here, okay, you can block this Cav charge, but again, the Noble is following up, it's going to do a lot of damage. Noble, 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 and this Noble cycle charging now. Of course, the Thracian Warriors are good for the cycle charge at least, but look how many kills, it already has 56 kills. This Thracian Warrior has another 60 kills by killing the depleted units, and now the Cav is still cycling. But again, in almost every fight, you at least have a Cataphract or Noble, and this is extremely effective. And again, look, the missiles are soon to be pressured out, right? Like, they have nowhere to go. They can only back up into this box deeper and deeper. But because the nobles are going to get good engagements, they're just going to push the missiles back, and they're spending time running away and not shooting. And now again, Cycle Charge, Cataphract, and Thracian Noble into 3 Avocati at once. 3 Avocati at once! So instead of only being able to kill 1 Avocati with this YOLO Charge plus Thracian Noble, you're going to kill 3 Avocati at once because of how blobbed everything is. Now look, this, like, because of the blobbing gaps open up, this Cam Archer gets into the archers, kills everything at once, because again, everything is super blob. So a single mistake, you open a single gap here, was actually behind the siege towers. And it's just GG, right? All your archers are already dead. And look, everywhere you see winning units, the Thracian nobles are just leading the charge, because everywhere they got to fight. Here you can see, if it's just Thracian warriors, they're starting to lose, even though these Thracian Parthian swords already got owned by a Thracian noble. And look, the nobles have almost lost no men. They're not getting shot. They're getting corrupt engagements where they have Cav to support them, Cav getting the YOLO charges. It's unwinnable if you play it like this. And you could say, oh well, yeah, but it's you know, ODK and Saba, like the 2 strong charge factions. Like, yeah, that's true, but you really think if this was Arverni attacking with Saba, or Arverni attacking with, like, Parthia, for example, or whatever, right? Some other strong Cav faction, you really think it's going to go any differently? Like, Arverni, sure, it's not as strong in the charge, but it's also not as weak, right? So units are going to survive longer, they're going to be able to fight for longer. So of course this is still going to be fine. Like, this has nothing to do with the fact that it's Saba and ODK, and everything to do with the fact that every time a Cav charges, they're charging into 5 units and knocking over 5 units worth of men, and then a unit is going to follow up and kill all those units for free. And so maybe this game ended faster because of it being ODK, but certainly it wasn't winning. Pretty much almost any factions could have won this, I think. Like, seriously, like, if Pontus was the Cav faction, and, like, I don't know, like, Iceni or something was coming out outside as the infantry faction, it still would have been winning. It still would have been very, very winning. Because just, if you allow YOLO charges to come in, and if you're so boxed where you're getting blobbed up, it's just never going to be good for you. And again, a single mistake when there's a box, and we already talked about this with why a box is bad, but if there's a single mistake and the Cav gets inside, now you're getting rear charges, morale penalties, mass running archer units. And just, like, it feels so bad when your Cav, you're playing as a Cav faction as Parthia, but still you're still boxed up, your missile units that you need to kill the Thracian units get, like, almost no shots, and all of a sudden everything collapses and the game is just over. So this, I think, was the death blow for people trying to box against such a heavy attack. Again, this is more against full Sally. Against partial Sally, this wouldn't happen, right? You wouldn't be able to attack so quickly, but this could happen 20 minutes into the game instead of immediately once some fighting's happened inside. And so this, I think, proved to people that something needs to change. It wasn't even a pure victory, it was a close victory. Like, no losses pretty much on the attacking side. They could probably win this game again if they wanted to. Like, they have enough Campbells to pretty much win this game again. But this shows clearly, I think, the weaknesses of the box. Like, the archers got no kills. They weren't able to skirmish with even the shitty slingers very effectively. Their Cav wasn't able to get anything done. Scorpion wasn't able to get anything done. Just overall, complete disaster, and something needs to change. So I think we pretty conclusively showed that a lot of the time, playing with a box against the Sally is a very ineffective way of dealing with the problem. And I watched that game when it was live, the grand final where Bobby kind of ran over them with ODK, and I said, okay, if I was playing this game, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what I would take, and I'm 95% sure I would win the game. And obviously, look, they have Rome and Parthia against ODK and Saba. They have insane faction advantage. It's not, you know, to say that this Sally idea was bad or like they didn't play well or whatever. That's why I would win. To be honest, they should be winning this, right? They have better factions. You expect them to win. Of course, they did something maybe unexpected a little bit with this full Sally, and it caught the attacking players off guard. But I was fairly confident that if you turn this into a game where I was playing, then I'm pretty sure I would win. And that's not to say like, oh, I'm better than you, whatever. It's just that in my opinion, this game became a land battle, right? And of course, me, Bobby, people like that have more experience in land battles. But I pretty much said exactly what I would do, and finally we got to put it to the test. So we have same people playing the Sally again, so they have a lot of experience with this. They did it in the grand finals, they won, and now it's me playing as Parthia here. So a bit different in that my army is going to be a little different, and also the approach is going to be very different. And I think this approach can be applied in general. So let's talk about what's going on here. So in general, I think what I'm going to say applies to pretty much every Sally, um, or and anti-Sally attack. So the defenders in Siege already start out with less money than the attackers. This is just a fact. And so that's one important thing, right? So we have more money. Our armies cost more. So in general, we have better, quality into the fact that we have more money invested into our armies. That's just guaranteed. The defenders also have to keep some units inside, right? They can't fully, literally every single unit sally. Maybe in some cases they can, but that would only be on very specific maps and against very specific factions. So they have to have some some units inside. In this case, it's a lot of Saba's mascot are inside, just the same as in the grand finals replay I showed before. And the attackers, they get the towers. They get these towers like this, shooting at them because there's a scorpion on top of it. We have these tortoises to get inside. We have artillery. In theory, you could have a ballista. We have scorpion. They have to go into this, right? If they're full sallying, they have to attack us. So they have to go into the towers. They have to take shots from that. They have to take shots from our scorpion. They have to go into our defensive position where we can, get inside with the tortoises if they don't, or in theory the ballista, if they don't attack fast enough, right? So there's a lot of things pushing them, and we're not really in a rush to do anything here. We have an hour on the timer, and they have to attack us basically. If they let us chill and let us go inside, it's going to be a problem. Um, so, in my opinion, a Sally is literally just a land battle where multiple things are in our, i.e. the attacker's, favor. It's not a fair land battle. Um, so the attackers should have an advantage in theory, right? The sallying players are only winning because A, the attacking armies are not good enough for countering Sally or land tactics, right? They bring the wrong units to counter a Sally. Which again is not always the fault of the attackers because sometimes you don't know if the opponent's going to be sallying, right? And then it's more tricky. But if you do win a land battle, it's because as the sallying player against two full armies, like a full sally against two full armies, it's because the attacking armies are just not suited for defending against the full sally. It's just straight up true. And B, if the attacking players obviously give the sallying force really favorable engagements, then it doesn't really matter how good your army is if you're just playing it wrong, or you're giving your opponent like really good chances to win the game. And that's just like making mistakes tactically, or not knowing what the proper tactics are, which again is not super unreasonable for Siege players because they don't have a lot of experience with that. And I think the classic Sally, the box, does exactly that, right? It makes the attacking your numbers that you're going to have, because you're going to have more numbers than the sallying player, because again, they have to keep shit inside and you have more money. Your numbers are going to be useless when you box, because again, you just attack all the sides and all these reserves inside can't even fight. So that's not utilizing your advantage as well. And also gives the sallying force an ideal engagement, as we saw with the Thracian nobles and the Cav getting all the engagements, leading the charge, and just attacking from all sides and destroying the box in the last game, and as we saw in other games as well. And of course, if the sallying force maybe just like runs right into the box, and if it's not a full sally, they might lose. But you know, a lot of the time, as we've seen, the fight inside is not a foregone conclusion either. So you don't have to run into the box, right? You can just wait until the fight inside is favorable and then attack later, if it's a partial sally, for example. So there's a lot of problems with the box. The box, maybe it's strong in an ideal world, but if the sallying player is doing something about it, oftentimes it's very far from ideal. So the box is dangerous. We've already shown that. Um, so what's a better plan, right? My theory, and this is what I'll show here, is that the attacking players should literally just not fear the sally. Like you literally need to square up with the sally and take a land fight with more money in your army because you are 100% of the time going to win this fight. And let's move forward here while I kind of explain it. So in this case, for example, right, we want to make our position as wide as possible, not as narrow as possible. Because if it's wide as possible, we get to utilize the fact that we have more numbers, or we can better utilize the fact that we have more numbers. The other thing is we're going to bring cav as well. So let's talk about each sort of point here one at a time. Um, so yes, I think cav-wise, you want to have, if you knew exactly what their army was, you would want to take roughly like the same amount of cav as your opponent. Maybe like one less is okay, maybe like two less is okay, depends on the number of cav. But you need to have roughly the same number of cav as your opponent, just because cavalry are the easiest, most straightforward counter to any cavalry. If you have a few less, like you can deal with it with Pila and shield wall and stuff, that's fine, and archers obviously. But if you can afford the same, again, every cav they have, if you can buy an equal cost cav, that's a great trade for you because you're going to have more money in your infantry and archers just by virtue of having more money, period. And again, you're going to have more infantry as well because they're going to have shit inside and you're not. So that's a an important thing. Of course, if you don't know if they're going to sally, you probably want to undershoot the number of cav. You want to bring some cav, um, and then maybe a few less. Because again, if they don't sally, if you have 5 cav or something, and you think they're going to bring 5 cav, but then they don't have any, maybe that's a little too much. But I think people have already kind of figured out there's a few factions that can pretty much afford this, like Parthia, for example, can literally just bring 3 cav, um, and still get a full army. Like, this is what I have here, for example. I have even 4 cav, so maybe, if I have 1 less cav, I would get more infantry, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Parthian swords, so if I reduce another cav, I can get 7 Parthian swords, maybe. I could remove some of these Eastern Spears and probably get 8 Parthian swords, like 3 cav, 4 archers, I even have a Scorpion. So 3 cav for a lot of factions is pretty doable. Maybe not like Boyai or something, but like Athens, Parthia, Carthage even can do this. Um, you can get the cav and still have a pretty normal army for the rest of the way. So that's good. And yeah, like I said, if you want to undershoot a little bit, if you're not sure they're sallying, great. But for example, in this game, the attacking team knows they're going to sally. ODK is not playing inside. And if they do, even if you have 4 or 5 cav, it's completely fine. You're still winning the game because ODK inside is just stupid, and they have no archers. They literally have no archers. These factions of, they could bring like 125 range archers, but that's kind of besides the point. So ODK plays inside. They're losing, so they're gonna sally. So I know I can bring 4 cav plus the general because I know they're gonna come outside. And Saba in general is not bringing more than 4 or 5. Probably not bringing more than 5 shock cav. I would say, like Camo Cataphracts. They might bring like 2 HA as well or something, but that's not super important. And Rome has, a general which can counter at least 1 horse archer for a little bit, so we kind of have the same amount of cav here. As much cav as they could theoretically bring, or most likely. They could bring 8 cav or something that have no infantry. Um, so that's one thing. Cav, you want to bring about the same amount as your opponent. Maybe you can go a little bit less if you want. And then, like I said before, we want to go wide. We don't want to play narrow because if we play narrow, we're letting only a few numbers for the sallying player kill a lot of our guys. No, we want to play as wide as possible and force some of their worst units into the fight. So yes, the Thracian nobles are very good. We've discussed this, but the Thracian warriors are not so good. And if we deploy a long line, he can't attack with just Thracian nobles. Um, he's split up here. Maybe he could if he went like all 5 Thracian nobles from this side. But then we get a lot of reserves, we get good angles, and again, we can focus on one area of the map. If we go narrow, if they break through anywhere, they're getting inside the box. If we go wide, if they break through one area, we can send reserves and plug the gap, but we can also break through their line easier because it's less thick, right? It doesn't have as many reserves. Again, we have more reserves than them, so if we play like this, our archers get more time to shoot from behind the lines. We can plug any gaps that they make with our reserves, and we can also create gaps in their lines by focus firing a Thracian noble down with our archers and stuff. And again, a breakthrough for them is not going to be super impactful because we have a lot of space to maneuver on the map. If we're in a box, if they break through, yes, we can plug it with a reserve, but any mistake is going to mean they get into our archers and then it's GG because all our archers are clumped up. Here, if they break through, one of our archers can kite away. The other archers can turn and shoot. They have a lot of space. Our cav can rotate. It's much easier to play the game. And again, anywhere where a Thracian noble dies, we're going to have a huge advantage because they're going to have only Thracian warriors against Epicadi cohort and Parthian swords and a lot of archers and stuff, and they're just going to lose the game. So there's a big advantage to be had by playing wide. And again, because we have a lot of cav, we don't need to fear playing wide. But I would say even if they took the army that they took originally in this matchup with like two, I think they had two Cataphracts, I would still prefer to play wide and just use my reserves to kill cav with Pila and stuff than playing a box because a box is just guaranteed to lose. Playing wide, even if you don't have as much cav, you can still use a few cav to help block their charges. You can still get your reserve infantry in good positions to Pila cav, and your archers can focus down the cataphracts and stuff, and you'll still win that game. Um, so that's two things. So I think this is a good start. And basically what happens, and we'll sort of skip forward a little bit here, is that doing this forces the enemy cav to be the deciding factor, really. Because if you go into a slogfest of infantry grind, you're gonna, again, it just favors the attackers because they have more money and they can get their reserves closer. Like, for example, all these mascot out here can never, ever, ever help the fight outside. So all we need to do is take a grind fight outside and we're gonna win because we have more infantry, better quality, better archer support. Again, they have some archers inside. We have all 8 of our archers outside. Maybe some of them are shooting over here, but they can always turn and shoot back over here. So we're gonna have a huge advantage in any sort of fight that takes place outside. So we want to do anything, which means their cav has to be the deciding factor because their cav is the thing that can break through the lines, kill archers, rear charge stuff, make fights, finish much quicker than normal, and this is exactly what they kind of would ideally want. Um, but at the same time, this puts a lot of stress on their cav to do multiple things. So first, they need to do the YOLO charges. If they don't, we will, and we'll get the better engagements. So their cav needs to charge 4 at the start, hopefully get into some infantry, but more likely it's just going to be countered by our cav. So in that case, their cav's going to take a lot of losses from that because our archers can shoot into them, or we might get some pila off, and so that's good. And if our cav dies, again, that doesn't really matter as long as we trade our cav for their cav. Their infantry is less good than our infantry, and we have better archers. So we're always going to win that engagement long term. So we're perfectly happy to trade our cav for their cav, which just means don't let their cav get free YOLO charges, pila them, countercharge them, whatever. So that's one thing. But their cav needs to do more than that, because if they don't YOLO charge, our infantry is just going to win, and the game is going to be over no matter what, so they have to YOLO charge. But after they YOLO charge, and maybe they're getting some winning engagements, whatever, their cav has to make it into our archers. If they don't make it into our archers, we're just going to win by shooting them down. Our archers are going to have free reign. Again, we have more archers, we have better quality, we have enough infantry to plug any gaps that they create for long enough for our archers to just destroy their stuff outside, right? We're gonna kill, even if this wasn't Thrace, right? Even if this was Arverni or this was fucking even Boyai, like we would shoot down the Oath Sword eventually, right? Um, with mass fire. So eventually our archers are gonna do a good job. So their cav has to make it through to our archers. But by doing that, they're exposing themselves to, be killed, obviously, because our archers are pretty safe behind our lines. Our lines are here. Our archers can pull back to somewhere around here. And their cav has to somehow make it through, get past our reserves, get through our other cav, and make it to their archers. This is a recipe for disaster. It won't work against, players who are playing competently in this style. So the cav has to do something there too. And of course, a key mechanic here is that any cav fight where infantry get into the cav fight, so if our 2 cav are fighting here and we get infantry support into that cav fight, the infantry will absolutely maul cavalry in the grind fight, in the cav fight after the charge, essentially. So that's absolutely huge. And that will mean that our cavalry is going to have a much better time than their cavalry. We don't have to go after their missiles. We can, obviously, but our missiles are going to do more damage, so our cav just needs to protect our missiles, whereas their cav needs to go behind our lines into our missile force to get them, which means our reserves, our cav are there to clean them up, and we're going to have a better engagement there as well. And okay, so that's all well and good, but I'm making it seem like, okay, any sally here is just gonna lose, so why even fight? And you can kind of see this right now, right? We're not yet inside. They have a bunch of units inside, and what I said before is, yeah, you might be able to fight outside, but the inside fight is not, guaranteed for the attackers either. because they get to hold the walls, they get to play the angles, they get to have a nice time there. So what if they just don't attack, right? They can just wait. They can just run away from our missiles, take their time. Okay, if they try to do that, then it's sort of true that they can do this, but all we have to do is just shoot these guys. Literally, just shoot the fuck out of these guys. If they're not going to attack us, we're going to just shoot these guys down. They don't have good archers here. We don't need to we don't need to rush, right? We can just shoot the living crap out of these guys, get into good positions. You can see Rome here moving to the right-hand side of these guys. I'm just going to start shooting here as well. And yeah, these shots might not do that much damage. He can dodge, and you'll see he tries to do this in a second here, where he's taking this fire. So okay, I'll just start to dodge. And that's true, you can dodge to some extent. You can see pretty good dodge there, only losing a few men, 157, 159, dodging quite a bit. But eventually these arrows are going to do damage, and eventually we can just start to win inside. You know, we can come through here, we can start to engage these guys and get right-handed shots. And again, it's going to force these guys to do something, because we just have so many numbers here that we can eventually make it inside. Because look, by doing this formation and not boxing, we are denying them the chance to deny us space, if that makes sense. Remember what I was saying before. One of the biggest things about Asali is to deny the enemy, the attacking player's space. But we're not doing that. We're taking whatever space we want. We're getting really good shots with our archers here. We're not letting them pressure our archers at all because we have this locked down. So now we can actually make this inside fight favorable for us. See, now we're going inside, and now they have to fight us. And now our archers are going to get insanely good shots. We're going to start winning this fight. Of course, they might do well initially, but eventually the archers are going to do something, right? And you can see maybe, you know, a few kills right now. 22 kills on my Elite Persian archers. These were supposed to be Parthian foot. I accidentally took Elite Persians, which would have helped to have the Parthian foot, to be honest. And look at this. Immediately they say, okay, well, we're not gonna win in here, right? We just have too few units. Eventually we need to do something outside, so it's going to force them to attack. So it's very simple. By not boxing, if we were boxing here, these archers would be under pressure from their slingers. Remember, they would be getting shots from all sides. Here, they're nowhere close. These archers are having a free reign, getting sword side shots, doing whatever they want. And yes, these cohorts are going to suffer initially. There's a lot of men here. But, you know, over time, they're going to start to win this fight, and these archers are going to do insane damage, and it forces them to come forward. So great. If they want to try to stay and not fight, we need to just be smart and use our archers well. And again, the great thing is our archers are here, but if they attack out here, these archers can quickly rotate back. And once they attack, it's a commit. You know, they can't decommit once they're engaged, pretty much. I mean, they can try, but it's very dangerous to do that. So I think this is very, very sound strategically. And let's just watch what happens in these games. So in this game, right, they tried to hold inside and they tried to go outside, but now neither of these forces are quite so strong. You can see here, we're going to meet them on the field of battle. We're not going to fear. They have split up, so here I have 2 cav to counter their 2 cav, and over here I have 2 cav against their 2 cav. They do have their general over here as well, so maybe my general should rotate over here. But if he tried to charge in his general, I'm not really super worried about that. That can do good damage on the charge, but anyway. So here we go. Again, one thing we've done here is we have a kind of a checkerboard formation. Not really the best I've ever seen, but you have reserves essentially. So you like units behind units, so if they charge here, they're going to get P-load. And I'm using my Eastern Spearmen and my Parthian swords as well, kind of as bait. Because the Evocati cohorts are the ones that are going to do the most damage, obviously. And you can see my archers are just going to pull back. These might be slingers, whatever. Pull back right back here. And they're just going to hang out over here. They're going to hang out behind our lines. Very safe positioning. And you can see what they're trying to do is use these Thracian nobles to charge in first because they can kill cav on the charge. So I don't really want to charge them directly. But that's fine. We're just going to let them charge. Literally let them charge because, again, look, they can charge this unit. But behind them, it's Thracian warriors. And their Thracian warriors are going to die to these swords. And eventually, this guy's just going to be alone. He might kill this Evocati, but he's going to get focus fired by our archers, which are very safe and can shoot for free. And then he's also going to get P-load by 3 units, because he's leading the charge. And he will kill this Evocati on the charge if nothing else happens, but these Thracian warriors are going to follow up, and they're going to lose. Same thing here. This Thracian noble, the gen, might kill this Evocati or maybe I would charge in this Parthian sword to sacrifice it instead. But it's going to take P-load damage, it's going to take missile fire, and by the time it kills one Parthian sword, if this Evocati just charges in and denies the Thracian noble the charge, it'll be in good shape. So, not really a huge problem there. Of course, the cav, you know, you can see my cav directly ready to counter their cav. Their cav has been taking scorpion fire. My scorpion may be a bit too far forward, but 22 kills on mostly cav, you'd assume. So this is all looking pretty good. So here you go. Pila from this guy. Here I'm going to counter charge his cav. He tries to run away. He's going to take Pila. Again, his cav is going, like, more Pila here on the side of the Thracian nobles. And now you can see my archers are just going to focus fire. We're going to focus fire the gen, because why not? We get 2 volleys of Pila here, already down a bunch of men. They do get a nice cav charge, but it's a little late. Again, if they want to do this, like, they're taking more aggro cav charges, that's kind of okay, right? Because, yes, they might do some damage to these Abacadis and Parthian swords, but my cav is going to be healthier, and as long as I can protect these missiles with my cav, it is very, very hard for them to win. Again, here, Thracian nobles gonna do well, but look, even the problem with Thracian nobles, even if they own a unit, if it's not a perfect engagement, if they're getting peeled, if they're getting shot, they're going to lose so many men. Already down 40 men to this Avocadian. Yes, they're killing a lot more Avocadian. They're losing, obviously, but they can't really kill a second unit if they've taken that much damage. And here you can see Thracian Warriors just free kills here. I can charge this Thracian Warrior. It's not a Thracian Noble. I can just hit it on the charge. Kind of get blocked. See if I recognize that. Over here, kind of same thing. You can see anywhere his cav is, my cav is. He can charge my archer. Probably not ideal for me, but I'm going to get a good counter charge here. That unit's going to die. I can get infantry support into this fight. He can't. Well, he can now, I guess. Again, it's kind of a fight everywhere, but you can see that, yes, they're getting some good initial fights. Very, very good for them, obviously, because they have Thracian nobles on the charge. But now you can see, I'm just going to get in here with my Parthian sword. It's full strength. This Thracian noble is 90 men. And not getting a charge. This Parthian sword will easily win this fight. The general getting focus fired down by all our missiles. Gonna win. We're gonna kill it anyway. 80 chemical cataphracts against 78. Probably taking some more damage. These guys are gonna be effectively winning this fight. Over here, okay, he gets a nice charge, but because we're not in a box, we get more Pila, right? If we were in a box, we wouldn't get as much Pila because units from behind aren't going to throw the Pila. Here we get 2 volleys of Pila. Yeah, I kind of missed my charge, but he loses 22 men on the charge, so he might win some of these fights, but again, that's kind of fine. Here, I'm just going to, like, again, reserve Parthian sword. We're going to get a good Pila volley here into this Thracian noble, and then this guy can come and surround or just help. Here, I'm going to counter charge as well. And inside, look, we're doing great inside because our archers are still just focus firing inside. These guys haven't found the need to turn around and help out here, but they actually are kind of breaking through, right? Because we have a lot of units invested here. The archers aren't helping, so they're kind of breaking through. But again, anywhere they try to break through, archers focus firing the cav. It's actually the Royal Camel archers. It's not even a huge threat. We have 2 cav units here to defend. Still about equal numbers over here. Actually, this was probably not a good idea to go through this gap, but okay. And the general down to 64, gonna kill this, gonna lose this Avocadi. Over here you can see, sure, the Thracian nobles are doing well, but there's just too many Avocadi, right? 92 and 156, 152 anyway. This Avocadi is gonna kill these 2 Thracian warriors easily. This cav down to 24, mine down to 60, so again, better health on my cav. And look, even if they kill a lot of my infantry here, as long as my archers survive, we can just kite out the rest of their infantry, shoot them all down. As long as their cavalry is dead or weaker than my cav, right, we can just shoot down their infantry and then go inside. It's not really a problem. So even if they kill most of our infantry here, it's not going to be a problem as long as they can't get to our missiles. Remember, it's one or the, like, we can basically allow one or the other. We can allow them to YOLO charge, or we can allow them to get to our missiles, but if they don't YOLO charge, our infantry is going to win, and if they don't get to our missiles, then our missiles kill everything later. So either way, it's sort of a win-win. They have to, again, the cav is the win condition, right? They have to keep using the cav. My cav is just chilling. We're not doing anything here. General, full strength. This cav, 63, okay, he tries to get into my archers, it's just kind of, or the Roman archers, kind of a mistake on my part. But again, they have to, like, suicide for the archers, and look. Another thing is, because we're, out here, we're going to have nice lines of support. Again, we can shoot inside and help outside. Here they try to surround, but that just means that, I can send units from here to here very quickly. Again, yeah, Thracian Nobles doing pretty well, but 130th Abacadi cohort, 142. Again, look, this Thracian Noble killed 1 Parthian sword, and these guys might break through here, but look, I mean, these guys were peeling them in the side, 40 kills. I think I just get charged by this cav right, and they're dead. These cataphracts pretty low. This is a full Parthian sword. My archers are still perfectly healthy back here. And again, they are kind of breaking through, but it's sort of irrelevant because A, we've won inside, because these Roman archers are just shooting them the whole time. And look, all my missiles are alive, so even if these guys break through, I mean, they're not really breaking through. They're all so weak that now the archers will just finish them off, like, pretty much instantly. But again, Thracian nobles that break through our lines, doesn't matter. As long as their cav is dead, which they are all dead, I have cav remaining, I have archers remaining, I have a little bit of infantry. I don't have too much infantry at this point, but we don't really need infantry. We killed all their infantry. And the infantry that live outside, let's say they even, like, a little bit more decisively won, what are these infantry going to do? They have to get through 3 Syrians, 3 slingers, Balearic, part the elite Persian archer, maybe it died. But point is, they can't make it back inside, and even if they make it back inside, they're ODK units. Like, right, we can just walk inside and shoot them down and still win the game, even if we had almost no infantry. Um, so, you know, we can essentially kite any remaining infantry inside because we have the cav advantage, and that comes from, again, them having to use their cav to try to make things happen, get to our archers, get inside, and it's a pretty comprehensive victory. I mean, if you look at the kills, like, sure, ODK still gets 1,700 kills, like, not terrible. Again, like, the Thracian nobles are gonna get good kills, but the thing is, we don't let them get kill after kill after kill, unit after unit after unit. We just make sure they kill one unit, and then maybe a little bit more of a second unit, but then they're dead. Right, and this ODK, or sorry, Saba doing even worse, like, look, Camel Cataphracts, no kills, my Cav, not many kills either, but all they were doing is countering his Cav, and my Cav is still alive, his Cav is dead. That's also why I bring the Eastern Cataphracts here, is because they have better health, so they will be more survivable than the Sabaean Camel Cataphracts. And so yeah, that's one game. We can just move into the next game, honestly. There's 3 games that I kind of want to show, and because each time they kind of did something a little bit different, right, so might as well show how that changed my thinking, like my game plan. So same armies pretty much. I don't think they changed very much. I think here Slava took less. Oh, I forgot. It's gonna be a little bit laggy. Let me just skip to the game. All right. So here again, kind of the same thing. But this time they're not surrounding us. They're just gonna come from one side and just full attack. And this time they're gonna attack faster, right? Because last time we won inside, so decided they're like, okay, fuck that. Let's attack wall. Maybe, you know, these guys are still breaking down the walls, or they're down like 4 legionary cohort and some hillmen and stuff. But the tower wall is set up so we can, in theory, put our archers here and keep shooting them. But we're not even going to need to this time. They're going to attack fast. These archers are better used helping out in the defense of the rush here. You can see, so now all of my cav is positioned on one side, all their cav is positioned on one side. Makes sense. Scorpion getting some early shots, slingers getting some early shots as well, just trading with their slingers. But this time, look, you can see they're just going to come forward and fully attack. So again, I'm trying to get my Parthian swords in front. That's sort of a key, I thought, because again, I want the Evocati to not take the brunt. I think last game, the Evocati got charged a lot by the Thracian nobles. I'm like, I don't really want that. That doesn't really make any sense. Let's have the Parthian swords eat that charge, and then the Evocati clean up, which is going to be better, obviously. 5 mascots still inside. He actually brought out, I think, 1 mascot this time, but yeah, 1 mascot, whatever. But you can also see by attacking this fast, they're a little bit winded, so he's got to rest a little bit. But here comes the engagement. Tries to bait out a charge here, get into the Thracian nobles. But I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, you can charge my Thracian nobles. I'm still gonna just take this charge. So I'm gonna get a rear charge into these camels, kill a lot of them. I'm gonna lose a lot to his Thracian nobles, but it's gonna block his charge. And now you can see my Parthian swords here in these thick formations, just to throw Pila and block his charge, so that the Avocati cohorts in reserve and the archers in reserve can just Pila and shoot the incoming units. And you can see, look at how safe these archers are. These archers are chilling. These guys are chilling. You know, we have the Scorpion back here, still owning this Cataphracts, getting some early kills, already 9 kills. So, and look, already the Thracian nobles are under fire. Like, this is going to be hard for them to win. They're going to get some nice early charges here, but again, they're good charges into my Parthian swords. Going to get countercharged by Eastern Cataphracts, which means my charge, or my engagement's going to be quite good here, because the Eastern Cataphracts generally are better on the charge than the Sabaean Cataphracts, because of their health and mass. So again, he can't really stay in for long. If he stays in for long, he's going to eat more fire. You can see my general shooting into the blob. Pila going to be incoming from the Evocati, hopefully. And the Sabaeans have to immediately retreat. They already lost 10 men. They got 16 kills. This Thracian noble, it's the first one in, so the Syrians are like, okay, we're just going to shoot that. I mean, they're just going to lay waste to it. Like, they're only killing this Parthian, so they've only killed 20 men so far, and they've lost 40, 50. The charges are coming in, but again, like, this is a decent charge from them. They get the general involved, they get the Thracian nobles involved here. But again, counter charge, block their charge. Here I hit their mascot here because I can. And then get out, make sure my cow stays healthy. Here they're going to actually get some better engagements. I counter charge them here, but maybe a little bit too late. So they're going to win on the flank because basically they attack so fast that the Parthian swords that were setting up the tower wall didn't get all the way over here. So they have actually an advantage on this flank, but in the center, going to be a decisive loss, especially where these Syrians are. And we don't even need to fight inside here now, because there's no point in going inside. We don't have the archer support. If we go inside here, we're just going to lose. So we're instead just going to focus on winning outside first, then we can go inside later. And again, they're going to get some decent charges here, some good engagements, but long term, with our archer fire, like I said, it's going to be completely winning. Here again, anywhere there's no Thracian noble, Thracian warriors insta collapse, and we can just rush down the flanks, surround them. Camels already down to half strength, mine are much healthier. You can see these camels, I'm not even using them because I don't need to, right? Just keep them in reserve, keep them safe for later. Because again, if they try to get to our missiles, I need to be ready to prevent that with my guys. And you can see, yeah, they're getting some good kills like over here. Again, but no Thracian Noble here, so this fight's going to be sort of sus. And if they break through with only a few units, we just kite them, shoot them, and then, you know, bring over some reserves of our own and some cav. The Thracian Nobles feel like they need to help these fights, and they do, otherwise the Zepkali will win, but that means they're not helping his cav, so I can just kill this Gamma Cataphract now with my my Eastern Cataphract. I didn't realize he was here because the flag. But finally I do realize, and we just, okay, whatever, he tried to get into my general, it won't matter. Over here again, Thracian Nobles just getting shot down by everything, Camel Cataphracts getting shot down by everything. I mean, long term again, there's just no way, long term, for them to win this battle. Literally, there's no way. Because I'm keeping my cav healthy enough so that the archers won't die, and the archers are just going to kill everything. Already all the Camel Cataphracts are dying over here. We're winning on this flank decisively. The Thracian Nobles are going to die. They're going to get focus fire down next shot by these three archers. It's just going to be over. And you can see in the middle, we won again. Here, yeah, they're probably going to win this eventually, but 85 men of the Thracian Noble, not super healthy. Over here, okay, they did win pretty decisively over here. They have another Thracian Noble moving in as well. So they're winning on the flank, but again, if they win in one area, it's not really a problem. As long as we win somewhere else, we can just kite. We have so much space. If this was a box, they would be inside our box killing our archers. We'd have a very bad time. But here, look at all the space. Like, this is totally fine. We can always kite back here, and the Thracian Nobles are very easy to kite because they just get shot down so easily by archers. And they don't have the cav numbers or superiority to get to our archers at any time. And so our archers are just going to have free reign. We're going to kill everything. Getting into, now my cav can get into their archers because it's just so free over here. And look how much, you know, I saw way more cav. They only have the general and maybe like one cataphract somewhere. Not even just the general. They tried to reverse sally into us out here, but again, we didn't even need to take this fight. We could have just ran away and it would have been probably better. But we'll take this fight anyway because they have to walk through the choke points. It's not really a bad fight for us. And again, our reserves, our reinforcements are super close. They can always just rotate over there and help out. Okay, I'm just going to kill the slingers because why not? I mean, this is just, like, again, this Thracian Noble breaks through. No problem. We just kite backwards, shoot it. They don't have any cav. Like, there's no rush. We don't need to engage it with melee units. We just run away, shoot it to death, kill stuff with our cav, and yeah. So you can see, they did even have some success. Like on the right flank, we had not enough reserves. So they actually had some success, but because the majority of our archers were here on the sallying left flank, and we had better reserves here, we easily overwhelmed them here, and then our archers just shoot down whatever's left. As long as our archers are protected, it's not going to be a problem. And our remaining cav force can come help them over here. It's not really a great fight for us to get over here, but it's so decisively won over here that it doesn't really matter. We'll just shoot down these nobles, we'll send the rest of our infantry over here. And we could always shoot down these mascot later as well, if we wanted to. I'm going to go inside here and just go to the victory point, because, like, why not? But yeah, again, this fight was, like, just for the meme, like, we didn't really need to take this fight at all. But again, you can see, as long as you have proper reserves and your cav get good counter charges, they're never going to win this, because the archers are just too strong. And you might say, like, oh yeah, I mean, that's just this faction. Like, obviously that's true. Saba doesn't have good archers. But the fact of the matter is, like, we're always going to have more money somewhere, right? They've invested more money into infantry, we have more money in our archers, but because we have more money, period, we have a huge advantage there, right? Like, and again, you can see, like, ODK getting decent kills, Saba getting decent kills, but even this time, the Thracian Noble's not even doing as well. Thracian Warriors, some of them doing well, but really doesn't even matter. And finally, we'll go to the last game. Alright, so in this game, the players on, like, the Saba players switched, so J-Barbs thought that we were not telling the truth. He thought that he was being smart and that this was actually winning. And again, like, a bunch of players before, like, apparently this is the lore, if you probably don't care, but before the season start, people thought about this combo and were like, wow, this is like really OP, and they didn't tell anybody about it, and they're like, in case we need to use it, here we go. But, so now, you know, having defeated it twice in a row, J-Barb stepped up and he said, okay, I'm going to take control of Saba here, and I'll show you what's really up. He took 5 cataphracts this time, and you can see the mascot are outside, which means there is literally almost no defensive force inside, which makes us even really more scuffed because we can technically just go inside and win. But, you know, it does take us time, and they're going to insta-attack us, so, like, realistically, you know, the walls have only just broken down. They probably have a few units in here, a couple Mascat, maybe a Cataphract. Yeah, they have a Cataphract inside as well, because there's only 4 here. So, technically, okay, they can do this. You can see the Mascat are here. They're going to hold the line. Theoretically, they can go. But we're not even going to entertain the idea of potentially going inside. We're just going to show that even outside, we still just win. And now it's, like, actually this is like as close to equal value you can get outside because the sallying force has literally almost sallied their entire army. These slingers are on the wall so they can maybe help a little bit. They have one, two, three mascot outside, so only I think 3 inside or something like that. 4 cataphracts plus the general inside outside. Maybe they could get a 5th if they really wanted to because 1 cataphract is inside. So this is as close to as much value you can have outside in a sally as possible. Um, and so, you know, now you can now you can try to go for it for fully again. But again, it's only from one side, so we know everything's coming in front. We can just set up. You can see my Parthian swords getting into their ideal formations, and this time I was a little bit more ready for this, so I'm gonna actually get my Parthian swords in front and like have better reserves everywhere essentially instead of just on the right side. Syrians are pulled back as a reserve again. My Cav are ready to countercharge. My Parthian swords are in front as this, kind of shielding force just to absorb. And again, if they lead with the Mascat, my priority should be to counter YOLO charge them because there's not Thracian nobles, right? But maybe the idea here is like, okay, we'll charge with the Mascat first so the Thracian nobles get in more cleanly, which is definitely true. They're not going to get Pila, they're not going to get shot because they're coming from later. But this just means that I'm going to charge the Mascat. And yes, he could counter charge me, but of course he's not really a land player, so I get the better charges here. But even if he counter charges me, whatever, again, it's just going to favor us because our archers are still just going to do everything that they could possibly want. So here comes the charges. Mascot do actually kind of bait it out, but you can see that my camels are close enough here where they're just going to get into the Mascot anyway. Yeah, not a perfect charge because he did counter charge me, but still a pretty good charge. He is going to get into my Parthian swords, but again, we're kind of okay with that. I think Rome should just stand still here and get Pila, to be honest. Here, I'm going to get a worse charge. But I'm going to get Pila instead, so it's not like terrible. Cataphract kind of just charges in my own men. Charging in here as well to make sure we can extricate the Camel Cataphracts effectively. He's actually getting the better of this charge because he has better support. But again, that's fine because we're going to get Archer Fire and Pila in here. Over here, the counter charges are coming through, and I'm going to get the better of this one, 56 to 75. So we're trading numbers. Here, 75, 79, so I'll get the slightly better engagement here. And yeah, we're just trading. This is very normal. Here I get a nice charge and just a bunch of units here. Gonna maybe sacrifice the Eastern Cataphract, but it got 76 kills on the charge, so you can't really fault me for that. And again, our archers, just like, look how many archers. Everywhere you look, there's archers. And there's 3 Mascat inside, as I thought, so yeah. This Camel Cataphract just instant routes because of the archer fire. Now the Thracian nobles are coming in, but again, we have such mass archer fire that anything that we want to kill, we can just focus fire it down and immediately kill it. Again, on the left, they're going to have a better fight. Again, they still have more numbers than we do over here. I make it out with 60 men. He makes it out with 65, so slightly better. But again, the Camel Cataphracts keep charging, and they're just going to keep getting shot. Here on the flank, again, no Thracian nobles, so we can just push this if we want. And again, the Thracian nobles going to do well immediately. They're going to kill off a hillman, but that never really bothered me because these Avocati didn't take the charge, and Avocati will own Thracian nobles if they don't take the charge. Thracian nobles getting shot as well, so that's not going to help. Center, I mean, they have the good numbers here, but we have a lot of reserves. Now we're even just pulling all our units over here, because why even deal with this? I didn't realize they had a Cataphract inside, so I'm a bit slow to react to that. Could have been dangerous if it gets into the archers. But again, just like, this Cataphract is so alone that if it wants to get into these missiles, it's going to get through like all of our infantry, and just like if I send one cav, even if it's a depleted cav, to just tie it down, my infantry or the Roman infantry will just kill it off. So it's not really a huge threat. Isolated cavalry, very, very useless. It's only cavalry that has infantry support that's really all that useful. And you can see here, it's going to take 2 peel volleys. Going to get a good amount of kills. Again, I wasn't even looking at this, so he's going to be able to get in. He's going to try to go for the archers. But again, it's already too late. The Thracian noble general's dead. He's losing in the center. He's losing here. Even the left side, where he had the best numbers, the combined arms approach is just taking them down. These Thracian noble, there's a Thracian noble here which can help, but these Thracian nobles, 113, 130, decent numbers. But again, if they don't get to our missiles, and yes, they got to our missiles a little bit here, but you can see 118, 115. only 90, so he hasn't gotten all that many kills, to be honest, on our archers, even though he's trying his best to continue to charge. But you can see 66 kills, 70 kills, and we didn't even realize that, I didn't even realize this cav was here. I didn't have a cav to block it, but just the infantry alone was enough to make this cav pretty useless. I mean, 100 kills, you'll take it, but they need to get to our archers and kill them. They can't just get some kills, or our archers are still just going to win the game. You can see Thracian nobles on the right side again. We always focus fire the right side because the general was there. Makes sense, you just take out the general, like, whatever. But you can see the enemy, the Royal Camel archers down. These mascots that tried to sally out, they're just getting, surrounded by cav and legionary cohorts. And okay, we're just gonna walk through here. We won on the right, we can just collapse. And again, our archers will just shoot anything that tries to break through. So here, cav tries to break through, gets a nice charge, might get a charge into one slinger. I countercharge it, and it's pretty much just dead. Okay, it gets into two slingers. It'll get good kills. It will get good kills. They're exploiting some holes in our defense, but even then, it's just gonna be pretty much dead at this point. I mean, yeah, again, decent kills. Because the unit's so small, though, it's not really interacting with that many models, so that's all good. And over here, you can see my Cavalry Charge are going to do the same thing, get into their missiles. And again, we still have these 3 missiles, and again, these depleted missiles, it's still 30 men, 80 men. Like, that's enough to kill these awful Thracian units, because they're just not good enough against missiles. They just have such weakness to missiles. Like, if they don't fully kill our archers off, it's a problem. And, you can see these Syrians 80, 50, 102, like, totally fine. Not to mention the fact that our infantry on the right has just dominated because we had archer support, whereas on our left side over here we didn't have as much archer support. So they did manage to win a little bit over here. We managed to win on this side, but key is we killed all their archers. We have all our archers remaining. No problem. We'll just shoot down these remaining Thracian nobles. And again, these mascots that sallied out are just gonna die. The legionary cohorts outside with some cav support. We have the cav remaining at the end of the game. They have no cav remaining at the end of the game. And again, we just play to the principles, and it literally will almost always work. Again, you could say, yes, this every time I've showed so far has been against the same matchup with we have a better archer units. But in theory, right, they have better infantry. If you count Thracian nobles, they have Saba. So of course our factions are better here. No doubt about it. But if you take equal factions, yeah, maybe you can win. I mean, like, straight up, if you have better land battle factions, and you take a land battle, yeah, you can win even against this strategy if you have better factions. But that's the same thing in Siege, right? If you take up defense that has more points than the attack, you're expected to win, right? Like, you're just expected to win. Of course, if you take Boii and Saba and sally out with it, like, against, Rome and Parthia, you have a decent chance to win, because you just have almost equal fucking infantry and cav, but you might still lose that, to be honest, because you don't have the archers. If you take a good archer faction, you might not have the good infantry to win outside, right? There's always a give and take, and because you need to keep units inside, and because you have less money to begin with, the battle's gonna be pretty close to equal. And of course, the attackers get the last pick, right? So they can always take a good anti-sally faction at the end of the game, or at the end of the pick, sorry, and make sure that they have a good chance to win against the Sally. So I think this pretty much shows what I meant about how Sally can be defeated in more land battle style. It's pretty much just taking a land battle, but it puts so much pressure on the sallying player to do stuff that especially with the cav and getting the archers and stuff, they have to attack quickly. If they don't attack quickly, then, that's GG. And it's the same thing if this is a partial sally, by the way. If this is a partial sally, you would block the sally with as many units as you think is required to block it, but you wouldn't give up the space. That's the most important thing. You never, ever allow the sallying player to dictate where fights take place, because then the inside fight is terrible for you. So you would just push back the sallying force until your archers are in good position to shoot things inside, force them away from the walls, and then you go inside, and then the sally is dealt with, essentially. I'll show one more game now, which is a 3v3 game, and we can see how other teams have tried this approach to anti-sally, and what mistakes they make, what good things they do, because I think this will be more useful than having, like, a really good land battle player play, right? Because obviously I'm going to make very few mistakes. I kind of understand the win conditions very well, because it's more akin to a land battle, but let's see mistakes that people can make in this approach. Alright, so this game is a 3v3 game, so it's a little more, even crazy than a normal sally, but it is a full sally here, more or less. We have, I mean, I would say it's a full sally, because we only have some of Icenia inside defending the breach. We have Lusitania and Saba outside with Britain, bringing quite a bit of their forces. We're going to bring 2 chariots, we're going to bring the general, we're going to bring some swords. and then their slingers outside. And you can see they're not boxing here. I would definitely consider this, and you'll see even for, like later on in the game, they're definitely not gonna fully box up here. So that's wise, and they have quite a bit of cav. They have Nabatea with the general and another noble cav, so 2 cav there. Noble horse for Getai, noble horse for Galatia with 2 cav. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cav essentially, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cataphracts, the horse archer general, and the noble horse. So it's 6 cav versus 6 cav plus my general, which is an HA, a good HA, and it's 2 chariots. So pretty equal on the cav front. Missile wise, they're gonna try to trade missiles. So this is the case where the Sallying force actually has pretty decent missiles. Because we have Balerics and Iceni slingers, but they have Syrians, they have Dacian heavies, and Nabatean heavies, so they actually have better archer force than us. But that's fine. Obviously, we have a weakness to missiles with Lusitani, so we're actually going to trade down missiles here. We're just going to shoot them. But you can see they're doing the right thing mostly. They're taking space over here. They're going to burn this tower. They're going to look to fight maybe in the breach. But again, we have a lot of units inside, so we can hold the breach pretty effectively. We're not in a rush to attack. We can actually afford to skirmish here. They also have, scorpions, which are annoying, getting already some kills. The ballista already has some kills on the cataphract, so not great. And now, okay, here are the chariots and the cav. So let's talk about what mistakes they make in this game. Right now, I would say, first thing first, you can be more spread than this. Literally, they have the same amount of cav as us. There's no reason to let us surround them. That's crazy. Like, the red line is right here, not very far away. They should put their entire army like this, all the way to the red line, and not allow us to surround. Because that'll give them more space. Again, allowing us to surround means our missile fight is always going to be better than it should be. If they go max width to the red line, they can put their archers in their own max width formation, and they'll be facing us head on. Right now we're surrounding, so we're getting better shots. If they go to the red line here, they shoot us head on. Archer fight's going to be perfectly good for them. And they can spread out, because right now, again, they're in pretty thick formations. Why? Look at our Balerics and look at our Iceni slingers. We're in max width formations. Okay, maybe not here, because we're getting good shots on the side of them, but we could always spread out here. Probably should be, honestly. But look at their formations. Very tight. Again, not optimal whatsoever. And again, letting us surround, also not optimal. Because when you surround, there's always a kink in the formation, and that's always weak. It's being attacked through multiple angles, and then breaking through and attacking in the rear. So that's where we're gonna, look to attack, right? And also you just have to worry about more angles, right? If you hold the red line, you can never get surrounded. The red line's impassable, impossible to do anything with. Second thing, if they want to go inside, and you'll see them go inside eventually, there's no reason to arbitrarily hold right here. We had to sally out from this gate, back here. We sallied out from over here. This is very far away. They may as well have taken the space and put their defensive line, like, here. And you might say, what's the difference, like, here versus, what I said, like, here? Here, they can shoot us on the right side, and they can deny us from holding the walls as effectively. They can burn the gatehouse towers, because the gatehouse towers are in range of units that walk in here. And there's no reason not to, because, like, I sallied only a few units from this gate. They can push them back. There's no fear. You have equal cav, you have more units. And we had to sally from out here. If we take a fight outside, it's the same if we fight here or if we fight here. There's literally no difference. There's not one single difference to where we fight. Maybe they're worried about us sallying out the gate and hitting them in the side, but again, if they do that, that's like suicidal, right? Because they have scorpions, they can just block the gate, they can just shoot things that come out of the gate because they're in a bad formation. All sorts of reasons why that's not helpful. Instead, they're giving us a fight where we get surrounded, and they can't influence the inside fight at all. So you can see Gedai's going to try to go inside here, and they're just going to get, of course, they're just going to get murdered by the massive Pila, fucking kill box that we're making here. Outside, again, by not taking the red line, they're not giving themselves as good an opportunity. And again, I want to stress this. Taking this fight, the way they are right now, is less favorable than if they took the fight, than if they go red line to the wall, full max width, and just fight us there. Because again, they have more units, they have equal number of cav. Yes, they're not cataphracts, I get it, that's like scary, but like, again, it's not like by playing over here you randomly get cataphracts. Like, you still have the same cav, so my cav is still going to be better than your cav. So you might as well go forward, take the red line, and also get a better positioning for the inside fight. Because here, another mistake they're making is they're trying to pressure our slingers. Like, yes, you're going to make my slingers turn around and go backwards, but you're also losing cav, and we already stressed how important the cav is in this fight. You can see, we don't even turn around because we have infantry with Pila here. If they walk forward with their cav, they're just going to get shot in the back. or shot with Pila and just die. So yes, they might, get some kills. They actually did get some kills. Like you can see, Capitation of 70 kills on the archers. And you might say, well, 70 kills on archers, that's pretty huge. We were already going to lose this missile fight. This missile fight was hopeless. But now you've lost an entire cavalry unit almost, and that is really, really, really bad because now the cataphracts are even more valuable. They can get even more charges. Anywhere where I can charge with my cataphract and not get countercharged, or charged by such a weak unit like a 26-man Cappadocian that's not going to really do anything, is absolutely massive for us. So we're just going to keep doing this. We're surrounding. They could also, when we're all the way over here, why don't you rush? Why don't you just rush your entire force? Literally just move every single unit over here and catch these units. Just kill them. Literally free. We can try to run away, but most likely, either, maybe we realize the threat in time and we get out, but you're going to get free shots on veteran shield warriors with your archers, so we have to run away. So these archers can run up and just shoot our veteran shield warriors, because again, they can't kite all the way this way, right? They're going to eventually have to walk this way, so your archers can cut them off and get some side shots, right? Because of the red line. So why not do that? Like, that makes no sense. Like, there's no reason to let us surround in the first place, but having let us surround, maybe you do this as a bait, and then you try to cut us off, you just rush this way to the red line, cut these units off, kill them, GG. Maybe we try to run this way, but again, you have more cav, or enough cav to hunt these guys down, just kill them. So, for sure, very possible, so here to actually lose that cav unit entirely. Yes, they got more archer kills. See how many kills they had, 118. But you guys already used most of their ammo, and you lost an entire Cappadocian. Ain't no way that's worth it. You can see these guys literally have their swords out, and they're going to come up and base and peel here. We surround fully over here. We're getting good trades on their archers. Of course, we're going to lose the archer fight. That was pretty much always guaranteed. But still, this is heavily favorable. Here they're trying to go inside again. The tower is going to nuke them here, pretty much. And they're getting surrounded, and we can cycle, and we have Pila, etc., etc., etc. There's no way this fight's favorable, and they're going to lose a bunch of noble swords for no reason. So, good for us, essentially. Okay, a nice cycle charge for the Trojan Swordband there. And again, we are actually killing a decent amount of their archers. At least using their ammo as well, because eventually we are going to attack them out here, and we're going to need all of the dead archers we can get to help Lusitania in there. So yeah, let's just skip. I think we've kind of explained some of the mistakes already. Let's skip to the main fight, and we'll talk more about it there. Alright, so basically what happened is we killed the noble swords inside, and we just fell back because they weren't playing inside at all, so we just said, okay, we're going to wait. We sallied a few of these noble chosen swords out the gate because we might as well, and they attacked them. And now they're overcommitting over here, so we say, okay, we can't just lose these chosen swordmen for nothing, or we just lose the game. We're just losing units for free. So we're going to counterattack on this side. And you can see, because of how much cav is A, committed over here, and B, they lost already, we're going to get a free attack over here. This Cappadocian is down to 60 men because it was killing archers as well, which means it's a free, like, one charge from a cataphract will kill it. And you can see, these guys are super exposed. They have almost no reserves. They do have a few, but the chariots are also here to threaten them. And we have so much more numbers. We have 3 cataphracts in this area. And yes, they might win over here eventually, but they're out of position, so we take the time to attack, and this is going to be a problem. So here they try to go diamond formation. This doesn't really matter in this game. Free YOLO charge here. Nice play from Lusitania, actually waiting for me to get the charge. Getting a charge here. Very nice by her, actually. And I also get a counter charge into the Nabatean General, which has also lost some men, so I'm going to get a very nice charge here. Iberian swords only, so not really great engagement, honestly. But over here, super free. Again, Cappadocian died in one charge because they had lost some men and lost a lot of HP. Chariots are trying to come in. Okay, the chariots kind of suck, so they're just going to lose, but whatever. And you can see over here, even just veteran shields against Galatian legionaries is actually not a bad fight for us. And this distraction has caused, mass chaos. Nabatean General almost dead. Getting the chariots into the side of these Galatian legionaries, and they're going to die, but they're actually going to do a nice job of causing fear, or chaos, more like fear, in the literal sense of the word anyway. Getting some kills on Galatian legionaries, allowing us to break through over here, allowing us to break through, crucially, on the side. And again, you always want to break through on the flanks you can surround. And our center is pretty good. Lusitania Nobles going to hold the line, going to win, going to be winning over here. Here come my cataphracts breaking through this hoplite. You can see the Maskats are going to be able to get into the flank of these legions. Veteran shield warriors getting into the flank as well. And this is just a disaster. Like, it's instantly winning for us because they weren't able to, A, they weren't able to prevent us from surrounding them, crucially. And B, they allowed us to get really, really good engagements. Again, where we had YOLO charges, we got into their side, we collapsed in the side of these units, and we also surround over here, and we're also breaking through here. You can see their archers, not all able to shoot at the moment, because I have cav inside their lines, and you got cav coming from the back. Most of their archers have already, used a lot of their ammo as well. So, this is a very coordinated attack, but the key mistakes that they make were, one, allowing us to have an area where we can surround, by not holding the red line. Two, wasting their cav, both by putting them out of position over here and also just wasting the Cappadocians at the start of the game, because that meant that their Cappadocians died in one charge to the Camel Cataphracts, and they're just instantly out of the fight. And and C, they allowed us to get, well, I kind of already explained this, but already get this around and get the YOLO charges for free, allowing my cav to get really good engagements, basically, where if we charge frontally, get the cycle charge, we get rear charges in here, I mean, there's just no hope. Not to mention that our engagement was timed very well. Everyone were engaging at once. So yes, they had archers, but we pressured the archers a little bit, and all of our units engaged at once. So even if they shoot down a few of our veteran shield warriors, we're likely still going to get really good engagements. We get infantry support into the cav fights. We get rear charges everywhere, and this is just dominant. Very, very decisive victory. Even here, the sallying Chosen Sword Band going to do well against these noble swords just by surrounding them and using the gatehouse towers to their advantage, of course. But yeah, overall, I think this is basically what you can expect. Even if you make a few mistakes, like, good Sally players are going to punish you. But that's the importance of, when I'm talking about width, I mean max width. I mean, do not let them surround you. I mean, if possible, because you have more money, right? Be wider than your opponent. Why not? You can surround them. If you're worried about cav, you don't do that, but in this case, there's equal cav. Why not just be wider? Well, I mean, at least play the max possible width. Here, you can't be wider, because the red line's going to prevent anyone from being wider than the red line is. But again, by letting us surround, we killed a lot more of their missiles, which meant our veteran shield warriors had more survivability, because they had less missiles to shoot them down. And then they also let us get a really nice engagement by surrounding them and getting free rear charges all over the place, through this gap. Over here, there are some isolated noble swords that got rear charge. Getting through here, the chariots. Like, that engagement would not be possible if they were max width like that. And again, don't waste the cav. The cav are super important to kill my cav. Again, the difference between this Sally and the other Sally, I mean, there's a lot, but my cav is the one surviving in both of them. But in the other game, I was the attacking player, not the Sally player. In this game, I'm the Sally player. In both games, my cav is the only one surviving. Their cav is all dead at the end of the game. And that means your archers are going to fall, and that means that the attacking hold is going to fall. So yeah, I think I talked about in the beginning of this battle. Don't fear. Play up. Play where you want to play when you're defending against the Sally. If you have the proper tools to defend against the Sally, defend where you want to defend against the Sally. Don't let them dictate where the fights take place, because that will hurt you long term. It will hurt your ability to defend or help attack the walls as well in the inside fight. But yeah, so I think that those are a few examples of both how this strategy can work and also what mistakes can lead to the downfall of it as well. And I guess let's go into some concluding remarks real quick and kind of just finish talking about this. Alright, so just to wrap things up here, I think in this video my goal was to kind of show that the kind of old ideas of how to block a Sally can fail drastically. If the Sally players really know what they're doing, they can take advantage of a lot of things we try to box. And the best way to deal with the Sally is to meet it head on, be a Chad, kind of engage it. Don't let the Sally do what it wants to do with you, right? If you let the Sally take all the space, if you let them choose where the fights take place, oftentimes you're going to be in bad shape. This starts on the army selection screen, where you need to take armies that are going to counter Sally, if possible. It also starts with being aware of the mechanics of how to deal with the cavalry YOLO charges and like how powerful that can be, and also like micro and all that obviously matters as well. But the point is, if you meet the Sally head on, I think there's ample evidence to suggest that you can defeat it pretty straightforwardly. It's not foolproof, and at the same time, it's also not true that this is always the best way. I think there's many times where it can be safer, depending on your factions, depending on the opponent's factions and your army compositions, to just play more defensively, give up space in order to fight in a more comfortable area of the map. Can be completely viable as well. I'm merely suggesting that a lot of the time, if you have the right army and the right abilities, this is a very effective way to counter the Sally, and it it generally works pretty well. Um, I think though, if we're talking about in the future of Sally, if people play more this way, what is the benefit of it? Really, the biggest thing is the threat of the Sally. It's not even the Sally itself. It's the idea that you could Sally and you could bring a lot of cav, but you could also just sit inside. And the good thing is not every faction can do this. And I already kind of talked a little bit about how there are factions that can kind of hedge anyway, and they can bring 3 cav, 4 cav, and then even if they Sally, you have the tools to defeat it. And if they don't Sally, you're still bringing 8 infantry, 4 archers, everything that you would normally want. But it really does depend on the map, because a lot of maps, the Sally is more favorable, and the inside hold's not. There are some maps where cavalry is really good inside, so taking 4 cav as the attackers, even if they don't Sally, still probably fine, because your cav could actually solve a lot of impact in the late game of the siege. So, but regardless of that, I think it's still the ability to make the attackers guess at your army comp that's the most powerful, right? Because that's something that where you as the Sallying player or potentially Sallying player knows what your army comp's going to be, and the attacker does not. It could be very, very different, Sally versus staying inside. Whereas the defenders not knowing the attacking army comp isn't as dangerous, right? Because, yeah, they can bring a fuck ton of cab, but you just sit inside, and that cab is not super useful. The defenders have more say over how the battle will look in choosing to Sally or not Sally. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I'm not even sure that there's really a good answer for the attackers in terms of how they deal with that. They just always have to assume that a Sally is possible. But as I sort of said at the start of this video, um, there's a chance that because the Sally is possible, or maybe they won't do it, you're going to always have to bring an army that's not optimal against fighting a Sally and not optimal for fighting inside. And that's just how it is. However, there are cases where you know they're going to Sally. Like Lusitani, ODK, these factions are so bad inside on defense that you can assume it's a Sally, and even if you can bring an anti-Sally army, even if they stay inside, you should be fine. ODK especially, Lusitani, there's maps where they can make it work, but if you see ODK, bro, like, you know they're gonna Sally, and if you don't take an anti-Sally army, you're, like, throwing. I mean, if they don't bring a Cav faction, like, if they bring ODK in, or Vernier or something, like, sure, you don't have to, like, invest heavily in Cav, but you best not allow them to, like, take the space with ODK and surround and stuff like that. There's literally no reason to do that. Even better, you might as well take Cav anyway, just so you can hunt their archers and you can get good engagements and break down their Sally. If they have worse Cav than you can chase them down, use your archers effectively outside, stuff like that. So overall, I think that's the biggest threat. But you just have to be reasonable. You have to expect the Sally. You have to understand if they Sally, what kind of army would they take for it to be effective, and then you can pretty generally counter it without too much hassle if you know what you're doing. And of course, it does take a lot of skill. It takes a lot of micro, no doubt about that, for sure. But in the end, like that's any game, and that's how land battles are played. And I think Siege will, or the Siege community anyway, will start to realize the importance of those things, or they'll just like hate Sally and not deal with it. But in the end, like I think it's a perfectly viable strategy. It has perfectly viable counters. It definitely looks different than your standard Siege gameplay, but I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just the evolution of the meta as time goes on is always going to involve new things, going to involve strats and counter strats, and overall I think it makes for very fun gameplay, at least from a land player perspective. So anyway, hope you guys learned something. If you have questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comments, DM me on Discord or Steam, whatever, I don't really care. I'm definitely happy to answer questions, and if necessary, make more videos on this topic. I think this was a really interesting topic just because of how pertinent it has been in the Siege community recently. Um, I was also gonna make a video of my like reaction or like my how I see the Siege community and Siege itself. It was originally gonna be part of this video, and I decided like it's way too long, and also probably people don't care. So I might make it later at another point. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching if you stayed this far. If you want to learn more about land battles, then literally every other video on my channel is about land battles, so you'll definitely learn a lot. But yeah, um, hopefully we'll see the evolution of this meta continue to evolve, and I'm definitely interested to see how different players, different teams, whatever, take what direction people will take it in, and how the season will play out in the future. So thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Peace.